Got a countdown and everything. Test 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. Should have some music in here. Let's get these windows open. There is YouTube. Work the chat out. Dum, 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 dum. Looks like we're going a little bit. Let's go ahead and just start with the play when I get my audio straight. It's about a 5-second delay. No, 7 seconds.
I mean, he has a spot to stay at now at the trap, but he can't be there all the time, because if he was there all the time and live streaming all the time, if he's live streaming there by himself, then people are going to know that are looking for him. They're going to know where he's at. Again, a lot of people don't want to admit this thing about Umar being a junkie, but he's
Peace and Pan-Africanism, peace and Pan-Africanism. Peace and Pan-Africanism, peace and Pan-Africanism. I just wanted to let you all know that tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., there will be a special back-to-school Black parent teleconference.
Let that loop for a second while I get this other thing straight here. Gotta get this Twitch up here real quick.
I mean, he has a spot to stay at now at the trap, but he can't be there all the time, because if he was there all the time and live streaming all the time, if he's live streaming there by himself, then people are going to know that are looking for him. They're going to know where he's at. Again, a lot of people don't want to admit this thing about Umar being a junkie, but
Peace and Pan-Africanism, peace and Pan-Africanism.
This rumbled up. All right, we're live on YouTube. Like we're live on Rumble. You just check out Twitch and we can get started here. Twitch. Yeah, I see one in Twitch. All right, that's good enough. Hope my EV Monks people aren't feeling betrayed. Where's EV Monks? I'm gonna tell you my secret motivation for this is actually I'm demoing Rumble Studio because it's free. And all right. All right, let's get started. Go ahead and stop there. I wonder if anybody understand that that video. That video is from 2021, a long time ago. I was predicting that in, that many years that Lenon would be doing the same content by 2036, and Umar would be looking younger and he'd be looking older, making himself old. And 4 years later, yeah, he's still doing the same thing. And let's see. We run my fair use disclaimer that I stole from Lenon. How's my audio? Anybody can hear me out there? If there's anybody around. Put that on live. Let me check this on my phone since I'm all alone. Now, how do we get to this video? I guess it's playing by itself. So this is the video that this is one of the working videos. It was never released because it was never finished. It's just like a timeline keeping kind of video, keeping the story. And I put this one up today, and it's just showing the overall arc. It doesn't actually start at the very beginning. Very beginning video would really start around June, July, August of 2018. But this is enough context to really see, to create the question I'm trying to get to and the answer I'm trying to get to, which is, was it a scam? Because like in all of these situations, we don't know. All we know is what it looks like. And so it comes down to, there's a variable that we're trying to solve. We got this evidence and we got these operations, our common sense, and we're going to look at it and not make any real pronouncements. But listen, if it looked like a scam and it smelled like a scam, it's probably a scam. And so the thing that makes it look like a scam to me, the smoking gun is that he quit his job. That's the main thing for me. I can see all the other signs also, but that's the part where I'm like, well, if you're having financial troubles and you're worried about finance and your child is sick and you don't know what the diagnosis is yet, you haven't even had the meeting yet, why would you quit your job in between? After you got the money, why would you quit your job? That means that it was all about the money to begin with. And then you don't get the surgery, you don't get the treatment, and you try to rush through the explanation. You don't want to talk about Medicaid. Anybody that brought up Medicaid or CHIP program in those days got blocked. He lost a lot of subscribers over that. And so this video just laid out the whole case. It's about 12 minutes. I'm not going to go through the whole thing right now, actually. I want to get to the part I want to talk about is, we all know this video from this sector, and it's got to do with the crying video. Right, where he's complaining about having to work, and so he cried, right? And in the video, I believe him. He's just lost. And see, he talks about how many hours he worked. 61 hours for a man with 5 kids and a wife is not a lot of hours, actually. Especially if you're talking about unskilled labor. He kept on describing work as if working 50 hours or 60 hours is somehow a lot and is unreasonable. Moving out to Utah, he put himself in a situation where, people kind of called this bluff, and he had to be a man for the first time. And so his response is he thinks he needs to be at home with his kids because there's some difficulty. But really, he's supposed to be at work. And so the job quitting part is a question that I always brought up. And the responses I got back from it, I was never satisfied with it. I'm like, well, this is a significant event that he quit his job. And what was the reasoning that he gave was the job was overbearing. It was too much overtime, too many hours. They were too inflexible, you know, all these details. But when you look at the video footage, that it tells a whole different story. And so the crying part of this is just, you know, it's a point of ridicule for him, but I'm going to go past this to the next video. See that? Can you guys hear this video clearly? Who is what? Make a change here to run interference. And see, I can understand that. It's so important for me to be around and be at home. It's because that's what he's used to doing. He's been doing that for all these years. And this is a new environment for him. It's a new role to be the working father outside the home, for working for benefits and working for the stuff that you need to take care of your family. He didn't have to do it in California, but now he has to do it there. And this is his first time as a grown-up actually having to do it at this scale, you know, because he's got this, whatever his rent is, and he's in a different place. He don't have his usual things he can rely on, whatever his usual hustles were. He doesn't have it. There's no sound. Anybody else tell me, is there no sound? TMK? I don't believe make a change. Test, test, test. Let me check this myself. I thought so. Yeah, because all my indications say that my sound is working right. I'm going ahead and pull up my my phone version of it too, because we know. Let me see. Get to my channel. Why? How come I got Umar Johnson's phone number memorized? What the hell? You say that number so much. Yeah, my sound is working fine. You see, make a change, it's just here to run interference. Him and Stephanie Collins, but you guys go ahead and do that. And so the continue on here. The volume is lower on this QuickTime. And so the point is that we know this video where he cried. And the question is, well, why? What's going on with him with that? And I believe the reasoning is he's for the first time having to really support the load in his family. Whatever arrangements he had going in California, he doesn't have those in Utah. And he is, you know, everything. He's got to carry the load of the entire family, and he's been in a super controlling kind of role the whole time. For example, he's the only driver in his household. Ayida doesn't drive, right? And so it becomes, hey, make a change. I'm about to block you, bro. I got a monitor up on my phone where I'm monitoring the connection. I can hear that it's coming through. TMK is also telling me it's coming through, right? You can stay for the show or you can go, bro, either way. And so he's kind of isolated himself in this role because he controlled everything to the extent where he made sure everybody had to rely on him for everything, right? And so when he's at work, nobody can do anything because he's the only driver in the household. His wife doesn't have a driver's license. When he leaves town to go to Sacramento to give this talk to Phoenix or something, he parks his car at the airport. The family can't, the family can't do anything without him. And so it becomes like, now make a change. You can say you can't hear. If you can't hear, maybe you should check your own system, bro. I'm listening to this through the internet on my phone, which is on the YouTube channel, and the audio is working fine. So check your own side, bro. And so he isolated himself in the corner by disabling all the people around him. And I always thought that about Lenon. I'm like, well, he seems to want to make himself feel like a man by disabling everybody else. And so the end result is he's feeling all this pressure in this moment. And this is in June of 2018. And so I believe his crying is real. I don't believe this is fake. But if you listen to what he's saying, the crying is about him feeling guilty about working and thinking that he should be at home instead. And his wife is supporting that idea. That's one thing that hasn't been shown, is that his wife is also telling him she misses him being at home with her. And that's just like, a man goes to work. And so this is the next day. The next day, he had he's stronger, he didn't cry, but he had the same conversation basically. And this is the end of the Ride With Me to Work live stream. And he's also late for work, and he's giving his explanations as to why he feels guilty about work. We can see him building himself up to quitting. He's trying to talk himself into being able to quit the job. They misstate that. And I think he doesn't know that that's what we all miss our father, because daddy's at work. That's where he's supposed to be. He's providing this whole way of life for us. That's the reason why we have food, clothing, and shelter. It's because he's at work. So it's not like, it's unreasonable for you to have to do that. But I guess he doesn't have any experience with that. And maybe growing up, he didn't have that experience. And then as an adult man, he didn't have the experience because he found a way to get through without having to have a regular job. But them 5 kids had to grow up at some point in time, and they need to be provided for. So none of these things are really a reason for leaving your job, because it's not like where's the money going to come from? You can't keep on doing GoFundMes for new issues every few months to get the money. You're going to have to at some point in time just get a regular job and work. That's crazy talk. That's crazy. And at the same time, they were not even, the kids weren't even in school. This is June 2018. The kids were in school. You just got them in school. That's their first year in public school. That's true. Ayida finally figured out how to get the kids away from his homeschool program. The homeschool program actually was nothing. It didn't even exist. And so they were just playing on the computer. And so they were behind when they got to school. And so both of the older boys had to be in the same grade initially. But I think Lenon's idea about what kind of work is the right kind of work for him, his idea himself, is disconnected from the work that he's doing. Like he doesn't think he should have to drive a forklift or do any kind of manual labor or blue collar work because he has a very high idea of himself. But at the same time, he doesn't apply for those kind of jobs that fit what his skill set is. Like, I think he would be excellent in sales. I don't understand why he didn't think about doing sales. He doesn't even approach the job prospects that fit his skill set, nor does he approach any of the job prospects that connect with what he's been doing for his whole life. He just goes to this. I think he has a confidence problem, an imposter syndrome or something, where he gets a certain amount of skill in something, then he walks away from it. Just like we saw with the cybersecurity build-up. We listened to the cybersecurity story for how many years? And then when he finished, what did he do? He didn't even do anything with it. You can skip to the next one. So he's talking about family life, and I guess he just doesn't know. In most families, the father is gone working. My father went to work at 4 o'clock in the morning, came back home at like 11, finished job number 1, go to the family business, work that, come home. We in bed by 9, so we saw him on the weekend, and that's a normal thing. That's a normal sacrifice. And so the next, maybe about a week later, he finally had drummed up the courage to quit. And he's been going back to his wife and talking about it, and he wants to leave his job. And he finally told his employer that he's going to quit. And his employer, Lenon is a conscientious dude. He's a certain kind of person, and so he's a hard worker there, and they want him to stay. And they're trying to make accommodations for him to stay, but he really just wants to quit, and his reasoning for quitting doesn't match up with the words that's come out of his mouth. So this is a cut of the video. It's about 2 minutes of the day that he decided to hand in his notice. I mean, with most people, it is about that. Let me see if I can fix this, work on this volume problem. These videos are recorded at really low volume. Let me see here. With most people, it is about that. So I gotta apologize to make a change. I'm sorry, make a change. I see something. You shouldn't be such a Lenon lover, bro. It's your fault. I take no responsibility. These videos are recorded at really low volume. I see. Let's see here.
I talked to my boss, and this is what I want to share. He was trying to figure out a way for me to stay, and it was clear to me that he says you have to understand that the reason why he's trying to figure out a way, he's so adamant about trying to figure out and work with you to keep you to stay, is not so much for you, it's for the company. They need my production numbers. So I told my boss, He knows what the situation is. He said, we can work with you. What do you need? He kept saying, what do you need? And what I kept thinking to myself, because I think what he probably wanted me to say was, look, well, if you can give me a pay raise or something. But it's not even about that. So he says, well, look, don't, I know you said you want to put in your 2-week notice, but look, just take a little time. If you can just go and talk with your wife, maybe we can put you on part-time, this or that, and we can do this and we can do that. So I came back yesterday. I talked when I was saying, look, we couldn't figure anything out. It's just not going to work. And so he kept, okay, well, we really want to keep you. I mean, what can we do?
That's wild. And so, I mean, they're willing to accommodate him in so many ways, including giving him more money, including, like, man. So what's the real reason for leaving? And just to fast forward some months in the future, he actually went back to work for the same company after his money ran out.
Is there any?
But he sacrificed all of his leverage, because he had leverage right before the busy season's coming. You saying, I want to quit, which is what you would do if you wanted to get a raise. He could ask for more money, flexible schedule. He could ask for a bunch of different things that he wanted that would meet his objective and put him in a better position. But he gave away all of his leverage by just quitting.
Else, this is what was crazy about it. At a certain point, the guy who they actually brought him in from Seattle to turn things around here maybe about 4 months ago, he walks up to me and he's like, hey, look, I heard that you were planning on leaving. I mean, second highest ranking person in the building, in this facility. I heard about what's going on and that you were planning on leaving. I mean, is there anything, can you just come in and talk with me? Maybe we could work something out. But then he goes, well, look, we have other jobs here. Is there another job?
The jerkiness of the video, that's actually the video. That's how it was recorded. He's in his car recording. So.
Then my other boss, when I was leaving, he goes, well, make sure you talk with your wife about maybe holding on to this job. What we can do is we can put you on medical leave for your son, and that way you'll still have the job, and we can hold the job for up to 5 months. And that way, once everything is taken care of, you can come on back to work.
Now, that sounds like a great accommodation. What's the reason for not accepting that? They can put you on medical leave, hold your job. He really just had no idea about work life, I think. And I guess he didn't have any counsel, nobody that he would listen to, at least. I guess if you spend your whole adult life as a know-it-all, giving people advice on stuff you don't even understand, maybe you can't take any advice from anybody. But that's crazy. If they're willing to do all those different things, you have a chance to make more money, a chance to take medical leave. He could have worked out a part-time schedule where you still keep your full-time staff. There's so many things he could have did if he just had any kind of sense about working. Like the Lenon that's here in 2025, if he was back in the same situation, of course, he would handle it differently. Because I think the Lenon that we see in 2025 is the actual person. He's actually connected to reality. Whereas the further you go back in the history, you start to see a more disconnected kind of flighty kind of weirdo, and he really goes, he becomes he's taking the path from being just an artist to being a full-grown man, I think, today. But the whole question that I have about this time period is, was the Medical Expenses GoFundMe a scam? Now, the evidence supports the theory that it was, and that the entire point of taking his son to the doctor was just to be able to do this, what he did. And they didn't expect the response they got from the doctor. And it may have scared him on that first day. But on that second day, with the GoFundMe setup, it was all manipulation, I think. And the evidence is in the fact that they skipped all the appointments. He quit his job and just relaxed for some months making videos before running out of money and then going back to the same exact company.
He said, yeah, please just talk with your wife. Maybe we can do something like that.
So that's the end of the video. Okay. So since the audio wasn't working right, in the at the end of this video, he was just saying the same things, building up himself to be able to quit, talking about his sons and his wife and everybody.
I've already written my 2-week notice. I don't know when I'm going to put it in. I was thinking about putting it in on Thursday, but it may not be until the next week or maybe in the following week. It just depends. I got to crunch some numbers. And then I'll look for another job where it's 40 hours as opposed to, you know, forced overtime. I'm working 62, 64 hours a week, work 5 days.
You see, that's the thing that comes out to be a lie, is that this is the rationality he used in all of his later content, was that they were forcing him to work overtime and they were inflexible, right? But you see the story he told when he quit, he showed how flexible they were willing to be, how they were willing to accommodate him in so many ways. And so the question becomes, well, why did you quit? Why did you really quit? Why would you relinquish your health insurance in the middle of a health scare with your child if it was indeed a health scare? You don't know what it is yet. This is in June. They haven't even had the biopsy yet. Right? They have had the biopsy. They haven't had the surgery yet. They have to have the surgery and take it out to analyze it to see what it really is. You still don't know what it's going to be. They haven't had the post-biopsy meeting yet. You skipped it. For weeks and weeks, he skipped going to the post-biopsy appointment with the doctor so they can tell them what the treatment is going to be. If you don't know what the treatment is going to be, how can you quit? That doesn't make any sense. And so I'm sure he has his rationale, but what we're being told at this time period, it didn't make sense. And a lot of people thought it didn't make sense.
6 days a week. Right now, Sunday we work 6 hours, and then the rest of the week we basically work about 11, 12. And with everything else going on, I'm glad I'm saying this to y'all, because me and my wife have been talking about it for a long time. But I think saying it to you all puts it in the point where, okay, now it's out there, and I'm going to have to follow through at some point. I don't know when it's going to be, but I need to do this. I need to do this for different reasons, and this is going to be the last thing I'm going to say. I need to do this for my family, with everything that's going on, because I need to be more present, and I feel like I've been neglectful. The job has put me in a position where I've become a hypocrite.
That's crazy. So he thinks that working makes him neglectful. What's happening? Because working makes him, imagine a father of 5 kids and a wife that doesn't work, believing that time spent at work is neglecting his family, though time spent at work is paying for food, clothing, shelter, insurance, whole nine. That don't make any sense. He'd rather be at home making videos instead, and that's exactly what he did after he quit. He went on a tear, and he made a bunch of content. He made content with each of his children. He's trying to find his niche on YouTube. And so he quit and he tried, and it didn't work. He didn't find anything during that time period, and he was forced to go back to the same company, minus all of his leverage that he could have got, where he could have asked for more money. When he left that company, they must have thought he was really a fool, because he was in a position to ask for a lot of different things, and they would have had to accommodate. He could have got himself into management earlier.
It doesn't stand up to how I've been living for the last 10 months. And I can't live that way. There's a reason why my wife said, well, it was temporary. She keeps telling me that, don't feel guilty. It's been temporary. She's very supportive. I love my baby.
That's not support. You can stop listening to your wife.
And you're just doing what you have to do for the family. And we appreciate you for doing what you're doing. I just look at it a little bit differently, because in the first place, I have to be present enough so that my family life, so that I have a family life. So I need to do this for my wife. She's been carrying the children, doing everything. Just imagine you have 5 children, and basically it's you at home all the time with those 5 children, and you're homeschooling, you're cooking meals, no fast food, nothing like that. Everything is done. You're washing clothes, you're washing dishes, you're taking care of the house, you're cleaning up the house. I love my wife. She has been absolutely amazing.
And for the record, it was not his wife. That was his soul wife, his spiritual wife. They weren't even married. They didn't get married to 2023, I believe. And so his insurance didn't even cover her. And I could see, you know, him coming into the realization that, you know what, I've been in space for my whole adult life. I'm in my 40s now, and I've been in space. I've been playing around in the forest, making videos, pontificating my thoughts into a camera for all this time. And I haven't really taken care of the real things I need to take care of in my actual life. Because the idea, for example, that he's even involved in raising his kids is laughable. A father, you're trying to develop your sons as soon as possible. As soon as your sons are aged to get a driver's permit, they have a driver's permit. You're trying to get them driving soon. You're teaching them everything you can teach them. You look at all of Lenon's videos that feature him doing stuff like putting beds together and collecting wood. You don't see his kids anywhere. His sons are sitting at a computer somewhere playing a game. They probably don't even have driver's licenses now. He's the one that's got to go drive everybody every place because he didn't develop the people in his family. His wife didn't have a driver's license. Nobody had a driver's license but him because he wanted complete control. And so what happens if, as a father, I think one of the main things that happened with me was before I was a father, I never thought about death. Like, I didn't think about things in terms of, well, what if I die? Until I became a father. Then I became conscious of that idea. And so, of course, you want to leave your family. You want your family to be able to function without you. So you want to make your sons strong. You don't want them to be weak and dependent on you for everything. So he's leaving town, going to Phoenix to speak an engagement for 2 days, 3 days or something. They don't even have a car while he's gone. Nobody can drive. And I think that the move to Utah was like Ayida's liberation, because now she has a career. She's back doing what she was doing when they met. Back to teaching, back getting certified, back doing all the stuff that she was doing, instead of being trapped in a house with a bunch of kids. Because that homeschool program, there was no homeschool program. And it was disabling her kids and the opportunity for them to have opportunity to go to college, an opportunity to have some kind of life. He was against all of that. He tried to discourage them from going to college. I got those videos too. He kept on putting the idea, well, if you go to college, well, if you want to go to college, he kept on making that assertion, and her face was screwed up the whole time. She was upset because she's the proponent of education, and he was trying to just make his own cult based on his own experiences and his own fear. Really a fearful person. You could look at this guy and see that this is a different person than the Lenon Honor that you see today. It's a different guy. He transformed from this person, I think. But this is the kind of he's still close to some form of innocent. This is before he goes into scammer mode. He's in the middle of scammer mode right now. And you'll see as he come out the other end of the scammer mode, he looks like a different person. Because he was a good guy at one point in time.
But she deserves more than that, better than that. Not that it's bad, but this job has put me in a position where I have not been able to be present like I need to be for my family. So I need to
be present. That's crazy. You got dads and moms mixed up.
Do that for my wife, also for my children. That's the other thing I can tell. They miss their dad, and I missed him dearly. And I've explained to them over and over again, I'm doing what I'm doing, why I've been working so many hours. And even though I haven't been home, except basically on Saturdays, that there's a reason why, and we'll get through this. And I even told my older boys, I said, that's one of the reasons why we take your education seriously, because we want to put you in a position to where you won't ever have to have a job like that. And there's nothing wrong with having this type of job, but we want you to be in a position where you can support your family and still have a family life.
And he wanted to go into IT, bro. I had one company I worked for. The workday was defined as 23 hours and 59 minutes. You on call the whole time. The higher your salary, the less time you got. You work way more than if you were driving a forklift. But I think all the stuff he's saying is just a buildup. This is a man sitting in his car by himself, recording a video. Because I don't believe that these are not live streams. These are actually just videos. So he's in his car, just recording the video, I think. And even if it was a live stream, he's really just talking himself into, rationalizing the idea, I'm going to quit my job. I got this $10,000 that's sitting in this GoFundMe from my son's fake cancer, and it's burning a hole in my mind. Doing some math, thinking about how many months I can take off and use that money. And I think that's exactly what's going on with him, because there is no world where it makes sense for him to quit. Especially when you listen to the next video where he explains all the things that the company was willing to do to accommodate him.
I talked with my boss, and this is what I want to share with you. He was trying to figure out a way for me to stay, and it was clear to me that he says you have to understand that the reason why he's trying to figure out a way, he's so adamant about trying to figure out and working with you to keep you to stay, is not so much for you, it's for the company. They need.
Of course, it's for the company. What do you think they're doing?
Production numbers. So I told my boss. He knows what the situation is. He said, we can work with you. What do you need? He kept saying, what do you need? And what I kept thinking to myself, because I think what he probably wanted me to say was, look, well, if you can give me a pay raise or something. But it's not even about that. So he said
he had to stop talking himself. That cut that's in the video, that's his cut. He cut that because he know it don't make no sense. That if you're in a position in that moment to get more money and you don't take it, well, what are you doing? What do you think people are doing at work? Why are you giving away your leverage like that?
Well, look, I know you said you want to put in your 2-week notice, but look, just take a little time. If you can just go and talk with your wife, maybe we can put you on part-time, this or that, and we can do this and we can do that. So I came back yesterday. I talked when I was saying, look, we couldn't figure anything out. It's just not going to work. So he kept, okay, well, we really want to keep you. I mean, what can we do? Is there anything else? This is what was crazy about it. At a certain point, the guy who they actually brought him in from Seattle to turn things around here, maybe about 4 months ago, he walks up to me and he's like, hey, look, I heard that you were planning on leaving. I mean, second highest ranking person in the building, in this facility. I heard about what's going on and that you were planning on leaving. I mean, is there anything, can you just come in and talk with me? Maybe we can
this had to be a live stream.
But then he goes, well, look, we have other jobs here.
Blurry like that.
I mean, is there another job? Then my other boss, when I was leaving, he goes, well, make sure you talk with your wife about maybe holding on to this job. What we can do is we can put you on medical leave for your son, and that way you'll still have the job, and we can hold the job for up to 5 months. And that way, once everything is taken care of, you can come on back to work. But he said, yeah, please just talk with your wife. Maybe we can do something like that.
Now, I don't know how you could listen to that and not ask for what was your plan? That company did everything they could possibly do that any company could do to accommodate somebody that they wanted to keep. And did he really was he going to live off that 10 grand forever? I know that he was still in the back of his mind expecting that NWA documentary to blow up. He was still trying to promote it. He was still, trying to get the money to mail out the perks that he had promised. Because I know that from researching that video documentary that he expected that thing to be a hit and for him to be in demand after it dropped, and it didn't happen. But I still can't see why in June he he really thought that 10K was really a lot of money. You got 5 kids, 10K is nothing. Especially if you're the only person working. And if you got a health issue, if it's really a scare, then how could you leave your job? That's irresponsible. And still ask other people to give you money. So the next part of this I want to show, it'll be in the Joe Trace 1.5 recap, where I put all the answers to the people's questions in the chat. The part I wanted to show was, where is it at? Another one of the smoking guns that, to me, that indicate that this is a scam is this right here. Now, in this video, this is in September of 2017. This is before he starts that job. Or actually, I think he had just started that job, right? And so he was doing these you ask, I answer videos. And then this one, he was talking about something, but he eventually gets over to, he's talking about vaccines, because you know he's anti-vaccine, and about the criticism he faced from not getting the vaccine and everything. And he goes into a story about getting the vaccine when he was in high school, and then it leading to some medical issue, a medical issue that sounds exactly like the issue that his son is facing. So turns out he had the CT scans and all the stuff that his son had, he had. And so it wasn't that we don't understand this medical stuff because we've been off the grid. No, you just had that while you was in high school. I remember everything that happened to me in high school. There's no way you forgot. But he forgot that he told us this all those months ago.
You know, my own family members used to criticize us. But, you know, the truth is that the proof is always in the pudding. You know, after about, 10 years, people start to say, oh, wait a minute, what they're doing is, actually, they got a healthy family. Shit, maybe they are doing something. They got a happy family. Maybe they are doing something that's working. And I had a lot of people. Remember, I had one family member say, you guys don't have a TV in the home. That's child abuse. And he was serious.
That's great.
It's like, what? He was serious. And I love my family and everything. But damn, I mean, it's incredible.
I agree about the TV. I did the same thing with my own kids. We didn't watch TV. We watched targeted DVDs and stuff. We didn't have just like an open TV in the house.
But see, a lot of people had criticism. None of our children have ever been vaccinated, but they haven't had any major illnesses, and like chicken pox and ear infections. They ain't had none of that shit. None of it.
That part threw me for a loop, because I think he thinks the chicken pox is something that you just naturally get. If you got your kids isolated in the house, they don't go to school. Of course, they're not going to get chicken pox. You get chicken pox from other people. But there's so much of what Lenon does is based in fear. He's really a fearful guy. Really a fearful guy. He thinks that these things just grow out of the body. No, it's based on being in a population of people. And he's in Utah. He's in the right place for it, though. But his ideas about vaccines and about COVID, turns out his whole family got COVID. So I guess he was wrong. Anyway.
I remember I went and got a vaccination when I think I was in, and I don't think I ever.
This is the story, right?
Told people this publicly, and I don't even think a lot of my family members know. But I got a vaccination. I think I was in. See, this was at SDSCPA, the first year when it opened up. I think I was in the 10th grade. School, you got to get vaccination at certain points and different, and then they have this whole schedule. And after I got that vaccination, I remember I came home and then like I started feeling real, like sick, like flu-like symptoms. I think I even had a rash. I think that was around the time I had this rash. I remember I had this rash on my body and it started breaking out. And after it broke out, I was like praying. I was like, look, God, if you can just, I don't want to die. If you can. I remember I was at home by myself too. I was like, if you can just, if you let me live, I'll be faithful. I remember I was saying that.
Yeah. See, he's a real fearful dude, and I think he can blame his father for that too, because I think he talks about not having his father in his life, and it seems like he just didn't have anybody to reassure him or protect him or anything, you know. And he carried that same fearfulness into when he became a father. He wanted to keep his kids in the house. He doesn't want, you know, I could see that he wouldn't want the needle to pierce their skin to give them a shot, or, you know, them to get bullied at school and have, you know, all the stuff that goes along with growing up in modern society. And the idea that if you protect them from it, they'll be okay is mistaken, you know, because they're going to have to face it. And it's just a matter of when. You know, and will they be prepared to deal with it? They got to get the calluses. They got to fall down. They got to learn how to exist in the world. They can't stay in your house forever.
No, but it was fear. It was all fear. I thought I was going to die, but and I didn't know where the reaction came from because I couldn't put things together when I was in the 10th grade. I just didn't understand what was going on exactly. It wasn't until later on that I figured it out. But it wasn't just that reaction. I developed 3 cysts. 2 on my belly button, or near my belly button, and 1 under my arm, right here. And so the 2 on my belly button, they were smaller, but the 1 under my arm, it kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger to the point wherein I could barely move my arm, and it was so painful. And I actually had to go to the hospital, and they actually had to cut it out. So it was a surgical procedure, and they actually have to cut out that lymph node and it was so much pus and stuff. And I had
now. If you Google, think about it, removing the lymph node is not something trivial. And if you got a growth, you know, on your body like that, the first thing they have to do is determine, is it cancerous? So they're going to go through the same process that they went through with his son. They don't just look at it from the outside, yes, that's what this, and then cut it out. No, they got to go through and make sure that when whatever they're doing is not going to spread something throughout your body. And so if you look at how involved, look at what the steps are for removing a lymph node, there's no way that he's unfamiliar with what's going to happen in the future with his son. In the future, he's going to pretend like, I don't know what that machine is. They put him in this circular machine, and I don't know what, you know, he went into the whole, we were off the grid and we don't know nothing about this medical stuff, got the country accent and everything, right? But this experience he had in the 10th grade, which is not as a little kid, you remember what happened to you in the 10th grade, it proves that he knew something about it, and he did not share this with anybody in the audience during the time that his son was going through what he was going through. He didn't share the fact that he had the same problem, some similar problem, right? And that maybe it's hereditary, or he didn't share anything about it. And the fact that he didn't mention it to me is just another piece of evidence that suggests that he was hiding information, and he was just trying to collect as much money as possible. That he was trying to be as sympathetic as possible, and that suggests that it was a scam, because in the end they did not get the surgery, got the money, quit his job, stopped talking about it.
And I still have a scar under my arm, but I have this huge gap where the cyst was at that was left in my arm, and I would have to. They gave me gauze and this liquid, you know, to make sure stuff was sanitary. I don't know what they call that stuff. And I had to push this stuff and push it back up in the hole in order until this area healed. And this area doesn't heal very quickly. You know, if you think of under your arm, remember one of my cousins, he used to come down the hill because my uncle stayed up the hill. He used to come down the hill, and he used to actually help me.
See, when the more he talks to me, it sounds like he's neglected by his mother and his father. It just seems like his mother was probably working, because I think she had 5 kids or something herself, but it seems like he was alone, and he didn't have anybody to care for him or even to assure him of anything. If you listen to him talk, you know. And I mean, if we do the math, if you say that the father was just this drug addict, you know, a lot of drug addicts come in pairs. You know, were you neglected by just one parent, or was that one parent just the scapegoat? Because it sounds like he's neglected by both parents.
take care of that because I couldn't really do it myself, and it was so painful. It's painful, and I see you have to stick it in, but then you also have to pull it back out after when it needs to be changed. You have to change the bandages, but you also have to the gauze.
He never mentioned his mom.
When you pushed up there, you have to actually pull it back out, and it was so painful. I can't tell you how painful that was. And then after you pull it out, you have to use this ointment and this liquid. You clean it all out, and you got to take these cotton balls, and that was painful. Then you have to take more gauze and shove it back up in there. You know, and this must have went on for like a month and a half, maybe 2 months or something like that. And it was very, very painful. It wasn't until much later in my life that I realized that was a reaction to the vaccine.
And, you know, that's his story. So my point is that story is incredibly relevant because in how many months from this, maybe 9 months from here or 8 months from then, you know, he had the same thing with his son. And the thing is, his son had already had the growth on his body from when he was a baby. There's a video where his wife explains that the grandmother found it and said, "What is that?" Right? And so I think, do I have that video up here? I might. This is actually the same month video. This is before he quit his job. This is on the 7th of June. He's explaining that tomorrow we have the post-biopsy meeting. This is in the video I put up yesterday. And they skipped that appointment, and they skipped the next week and the next week. And all the way through to July, they skipped appointments because the money was accruing. And so the thing I wanted to show with this video was, because I think I established the thing with the job. That didn't make any sense. The idea of him having some previous condition that was similar to it also is evidence. Now this one, I'm paying attention to his mood because this is the video where he announces that they found out that it was not cancerous.
Greetings everyone. I want to greet you with lots of love, peace, and positivity. This will be a very quick video. I've got to get into work. I wanted to update everyone on the situation with my son, James, and we're doing a whole lot better. I've been off of YouTube. For the most part, I've been off of social media because I just have not been in a really positive emotional state or mental space, but things have gotten better. I want to let everyone know that Friday we did get a call from the hospital, and our son James is cancer-free. That was a huge relief for my wife and I.
Doesn't sound like it was a relief. You know, it doesn't sound like a relief at all. You know, and it's like he was intentionally trying to keep this dark, brooding mood. And even though he's announcing, you know, essentially great news, he's announcing it in a dark way, like, right? And receiving the information that it wasn't cancer, and then the next day being the biopsy, the post-biopsy meeting, you would think that the next day is really important. We got to get to this meeting and find out, okay, what's the treatment? Because again, they took him because they say their son was in pain, allegedly. So of course you want to find out what the treatment is to resolve the pain, to resolve any future issues. So what would be the reason for skipping the meeting?
We're going to be going back on this coming Friday for a post biopsy checkup, and then they'll be talking with us about treatment options. And what he's been diagnosed with is called a benign fibroadipose lesion. It's not life-threatening, and the doctor told us that it won't require long-term care, and that there are options. Surgery is an option. I looked online too because it's considered to be rare. I looked online and there's other options too. But on Friday, he'll talk with us and let us know exactly what the options are and timeline and all that kind of stuff. So we still got some things that we need to deal with, and it's been a challenge. It's been very difficult. I think that the 2-week period, that was the most challenging time in my life, and my wife as well. And it was so very difficult. We both had a really difficult time getting through it. And James, he's so courageous, and I'm so proud of him.
He spent a lot of time laying the mood, and he's laying it out in direct language, like we're struggling with this. But what is he struggling with exactly? What exactly is he struggling with? Because remember, in 2 weeks from this day, he's going to quit his job. And that money is still accruing.
And everything that he's gone through up to this point, he's done so well. And you know, I'm going to be brief. There's a couple of things I want to say. I've never been this afraid in my life.
See that? I've never been this afraid in my life. He's constantly laying the sauce onto his audience. This is the reason why when I do some of his videos, I got to cut out his layering and just get to the fact. Okay, what happened? This happened, then that happened, then this happened, because he's injecting constantly these ideas that he was just suffering. A man, he's in the fetal position, just afraid for everything. Like, really? They did some tests. So this is the manipulative video. This is the day after. We all seen this from Speakeasy, right? This is the second day. Where's the first day? I think I forgot the first day. The first day is the day he's crying. I believe that he was really crying. The second day, I don't believe him. This is the day he set up the GoFundMe, and he's talking about the financial hit, and the financial hit's going to be, and he starts to cry talking about the money. He didn't cry talking about his son being in pain or his son, you know, being sick. He cried about the finance part of it. And it didn't come across as sincere. And that's pretty well covered in the other video. He's got a list of things that he wants to say in front of him. And he'll peek at it from time to time. And this is where he starts to do his crying.
Do this video to give everyone enough.
It's really low, guy.
But also just to talk, because I'm having a real hard time this week. My youngest son, he has some serious.
That look down was a look at his list, and this is also to try to, you know, cry. I used to do this. you try to find to cry to try to get out of trouble. About to get a whooping.
James, he's 6. His birthday is next month. Everything was going so well for us.
Get your list.
Getting things turned around in our life. And then this happens. I was going to try to do this video with my wife today. But I don't think she's ready to talk.
Yeah, his wife didn't show up in any of the videos until the very end. And turns out his wife wasn't involved in any of the doctor stuff until the latter part of it. So it's all his word. And in the final video, she's finding out stuff at the same time we are.
Publicly. And to be honest, I'm not either, but I wanted to reshare with y'all some of what we know so far, so that you guys know what we're dealing with. And I know there's a lot of you love us, and you love our family, you love James. And we're going to need your support too, so we want to let you guys know what's taking place. We have 5 beautiful children. Our oldest is 14. We have two daughters and 3 sons. And our family is the most important thing to us, my wife and I. We've been together now for
look at your list.
It's been about 16 years, 17 years, I think. And we've been
Come on now. Come on. I can't watch much more of this. Here's my point. You got to make the tears. There you go. Yeah, I just don't believe you. And what else I have on here? Well, that's all Big Move stuff. No, I should have played that too. This is just like a skit. You know that Big Move? I was just showing. I think I had planned to talk about the Big Move to the end, like this is the episode 16, and this is episode 15, and it's 9 months in between those episodes. So they got the money to move, and they didn't move, and so to me, that is also a scam. You made an emergency GoFundMe to move, and then you didn't move. Moving 9 months later doesn't sound like an emergency to me. And all the videos in between during the time they're supposed to be moving were all about the NWA documentary. He showed us packing boxes. They had packed their whole house up. Everything was packed and stuff taken apart. And then they just stopped talking about moving altogether. Oh, we don't have the credit. You don't have a credit history. Of course you have a credit history. You got a car. You've had places to live. That was all a lie. And the other one was, this is that conference he went to speak at. I think this might be the whole conference, though, is it?
Money, okay?
Yeah, and I'm not showing. I don't want to show his kids and all that. But it's got no blur on it. And that is, this is the AAS as a hero thing. Let me delete this out of there. Delete that part. December 2017. I need to do a video series on that. Just the beginning part. The video I showed you when he's talking about his lymph node, this is a couple months later, 2017. This is how Umar Johnson came and saved his family. You could actually make a whole story how Umar Johnson saved his family, because that topic became a real moneymaker for him. And and Umar deserves every bit of Lenon's criticism, all of it, just for being such a doofy himself. But this is where he, it wasn't actually on this one. It was actually in September 2017 where he first introduced his audience to Anti-Afro Svengali. And he first started to rant about Umar in September of 2017. I mean, where he really made the connection, like, as to why he was angry with Umar Johnson. And the reason had to do with crowdfunding, and it had to do with his own project. I should have put that video up here too. Maybe I'll do that in part 3, where you can see the video where he actually explains how the NWA documentary financially devastated his family. He used all of the money he had, right? And that to me includes all the money he had that he had got for the Big Move, because he explains in that video that after all of the NWA money was finished, he went further into debt, which means he spent the money that he got from the GoFundMe for the Big Move. And that's why they didn't move for 9 months after they got the money. He was using that money to pay for the NWA documentary stuff, which turned out to be a what? I bet he got those DVDs in his garage now. Who even has a DVD player? He could have digitally distributed that content. Why would he commit to DVDs? Mailing international DVDs with U.S. region codes on them. They probably don't even work in the DVD players in the other countries they send them to. But I think when you create yourself as a guru, you lose the opportunity for other people to pour into you. You don't get a chance for people to really help you. Kind of like what I did with Make a Change earlier when there was no sound on my video. You know, but I think that he really lost the chance to have any kind of, he needs to have a team of people. Same thing we say about Umar. It's amazing how everything we say about Umar also is true about Lenon. It's how similar they are. Similar, and they're the same age, and they were in school in the same time, and they had the same interests, kind of. Both wanted to major in psychology, both talking about saving black boys and trying to lead men, right? And both of them completely lost their way eventually, where Umar Johnson is now just a social media personality talking about snow bunnies. And Lenon Honor is just now completely dedicated to Umar Johnson. He said it in this show I just saw. We're talking about Umar Johnson is his niche. So all the other content he did was it was just leading him to Umar Johnson. It's interesting. It's interesting. It really is interesting that he's so much like Umar. Hey, what's happening, Speakeasy? That really is interesting. I wanted to actually show that, like show a timeline to show how both of them were the same. And nobody knows that Lenon was the president of the black student group at his college in Irvine. He was a leader. He was Kente Cloth Lenon back then. He was all for black people back then. So how did they, you know, and I wonder sometimes, are they really opposed? Because they have the same opinions. They both have the same opinions about vaccines. They got the same opinions about so many different subjects. And it's almost like it's a fake fight, because if you listen to Lenon talking about it, I think there was a time actually during the Kevin Samuels time where his audience turned on him a little bit because they thought he was defending Umar, because their views are the same in so many areas. I think their views on education are the same. And again, I don't even fault. Look, I say to everybody, get your money. And I think that Umar deserves everything that Lenon is doing. And if the money that Lenon makes takes care of his family, at least somebody's taking care of some kids. Since Umar's not taking care of his own kids, at least he's taking care of Lenon's. And I think that Lenon kind of got stuck, because it would actually be irresponsible of him to stop doing Umar Johnson content. But at the same time, I wonder, what kind of businessman is Lenon Honor? He's got to be a little stupid. I was looking today. He's got 1,100 people watching. He has 0 merch. Not a FDMG is coming t-shirt, not a mug. He's got nothing for sale. He's got no self-monetized commercials, nothing. His wife was making custom jewelry. He never put a commercial up to get people to go buy her jewelry, nothing. People love his songs. But he don't sell his songs. I mean, how good of a businessman is he? I think he would make more money from his own monetization than he makes from YouTube. That's crazy. And it's the same exact criticism of Umar Johnson. What kind of businessman is Umar Johnson? Just up there accruing penalties and taxes on that property. Of course, that property has also appreciated in value. It definitely has. And, you know, the smart thing to do is actually just to sell it. That whole area is going through gentrification. Let it go. That property is going to be valuable, but it's going to be valuable to tear it down and to build some housing or something there. Even better if he can find a way to get a deal to be a partner in what's going to be there after the school is taken off. And take the money and go open up a storefront school somewhere and say you finish your FDMG project. But both of them are questionable businessmen. Because Lenon Honor leaves a lot of money on the table because his channel is really just about his own ego. It's not about business. He really could quit his job if he did it properly. Nobody who has 1,000 people watching them and doesn't have their own self monetization. That doesn't make it. Every single one of those people, they have their own monetization scheme. Tasha K showed people how to do it. You can run your own commercials. It's people that want access to that audience that you're talking to. He should have an app by now. How difficult is it to make your own app now in 2025? It's not difficult at all. They're already made. You just have to put your branding on it. The same things he wanted to talk about back before he was qualified to talk about them, he could talk about them now. There's an audience for it. But I think that what Lenon is doing is just all about his ego, about feeling good about himself. You know, I heard him going against, talking about Umar's father, cussing him out and all this stuff. Like, what is that about? What does Umar's father got to do with anything? I always felt that Lenon superimposed his father or Umar onto his father, and that the stuff he was saying to Umar was stuff he wanted to say to his own dad. I always thought that. Because if you look at I guess you can't, if you look at the content across time, at almost every moment where he talks about his father, the minute before he's talking about Umar. Or the minute after he's talking about Umar. So he talks about his father, then he says Umar Johnson. He's always relating between his father and Umar Johnson. The drug thing, he says Umar is on drugs. His father was on drugs. Right? The absentee father thing, his father was an absentee father. You know, all the stuff that he says about Umar is true of his own father. And if you look at his father, he's the same kind of guy as Umar. Yeah, a Lenon Honor app. Yeah, it's just this all the apps that people are creating for their platforms, like Larry Reed's app, those are all pre-made apps. You just put your branding on them. Tasha K's apps with her website. There's no, if he's doing this Umar Johnson content for all these years, he's got that many people viewing, it's not just because they happen to be on YouTube. That's his audience. And they'll go with him to his own platform. He should have a list of who they are, and he should be selling to that audience. Other people want access to that audience. And you know that. Think back, young Spottum, think back to 2020. Remember during COVID? Remember the serious conversations that took place on Lenon Honor's platform in 2020? That was a comfort to people to have somewhere to go to talk about serious stuff. There's no reason why he couldn't still be doing that. In fact, it's your fault that I can't show those videos, Spottum. I can't show any of that old content because it's too many people that's logged in with their real names. The whole sector was over there. But he could still do that, and I think he'd be more fulfilled to not only just to talk about Umar Johnson and to know that Umar Johnson is just a lawyer away from taking it all down and from, getting rid of his whole financial stability. All Umar needs is a lawyer. All that can be pulled down. And Lenon Honor can't afford to fight it in court. So he's teetering on the edge of losing all of that revenue and that audience, right? And it's like, well, why? Where is your business acumen? Why is there not a t-shirt or a mug or something? If 5% of that audience were to buy something from there, he has something. I used to think he was competing with Ayida, like way back in the positive relationships time. And I always thought that he didn't advertise her products because he was jealous. But now I don't think so. I think that he's just a bad businessman because he's leaving so much money on the table for himself. He could be charging people to come on his platform. He could be teaching a course Why every other YouTuber that sustains an audience knows that teaching the course is how you get your money. Go look at Lead Attorney. I was with Lead Attorney from when he had, less than 10,000 subscribers. Way back when. It was just him talking to us. And look at how monetized his platform is. The same thing is possible for Lenon even today. Why isn't he teaching the course on how to keep an audience for all those years? People would sign up for it, even if only 10% of that 1,000 signs up. That's 100 people. I don't get him. I don't get him at all. And the scamming thing is like, that had to be a low point in his life, I think. Because all three of those scams, all three of those efforts are connected. The NWA documentary really, I think, ruined his life. I know it ruined his reputation because I don't know if it's the spending the time with the lyrics. Maybe it's demonic. Maybe taking in all that negativity somehow impacted him. I don't know. But the next two fundraisers after that NWA documentary were all about the NWA documentary. The Big Move was about the NWA documentary because they didn't move with that money. They used that money for the NWA documentary. The fake cancer scam was about the NWA documentary because he used that money for the NWA documentary to mail out the perks that he had promised 2 years before that people still hadn't gotten. He sold his soul for that documentary that's got 33,000 views on YouTube. And the rest are collecting dust in his garage. He doesn't even, you would think that he would promote it now. Hey, I got 1,000 people here watching. I want some of you guys to buy my documentary. Click this link to buy my documentary. Why is he not advertising anything for sale? Something wrong with that guy. It's not like he's not doing the thing for money. He of course he's streaming for money. And you're paying tax on super chats directly. It doesn't make any sense. You know what? People would buy a I Love Lenon t-shirt. They would buy it. And somebody tell Mac to come back, Mac. I'm sorry, bro. Mac tried to tell me that there was no audio on my clips. And TMK was telling me that there was audio, so I need to be talking shit to TMK. And I told Mac he was trolling, because he's a Lenon lover. And the thing, when I go through all of Lenon's content, it's hard for me to keep my energy because there was a period of time when Lenon was a good guy. And it's just this one chunk where he just turned to the dark side. Darth Vader style. And I think he's still on the dark side right now. That aggression he has for Umar's father, I don't really understand it. He doesn't respect any elder. He doesn't respect anybody in that generation. Same thing he did to her father. An umbrella with holes in it. What does that mean? There's so many ways that he can make money on that channel. And I just don't get it, why he's not. And maybe one day he will, But he's got to do it quick because I think it's just a matter of time before Umar takes legal action. Umar is losing too much based on allowing those stories to fester. Because remember, a lot of what Lenon said about Umar was lies. A lot of it was slander. Saying that he's on drugs and all these things. You don't have any proof that he's on drugs. And so he's got to really, it's just a matter of time before Umar realizes that by leaving Lenon unchecked, he's creating an hostile environment for himself. And you can't just handle it on social media. He's got to actually get a lawyer. And we know that Lenon has Stephanie Collins, but he's got to get a lawyer better than Stephanie Collins, I guess, to go at it. Maybe he'll get Tiff P. I hear what you're saying, Joe. I don't think the audience is there listening to anything else either, Josephine. But There was a time where he had an audience to listen to other stuff. And he can just stick with Umar stuff, with the same kind of stuff. But I'm just saying, why not capitalize on the people that you have that are there? If he wasn't slandering Umar might actually show up on his channel. Because Umar said before, he doesn't do anything legally because whenever he go live, he makes money. Umar gets cash apps. Well, he used to. He doesn't have cash app anymore. But I think it's killing Lenon to have to continue to do this Umar Johnson content. That's worse than driving a forklift if you don't want to drive a forklift. He has to keep talking about the same thing again and again and again and again. And you know that one day the wheels are going to fall off and you're going to miss that income. It's going to be too late to capitalize on the stuff you should capitalize on. He needs to launch his app now. He needs to start moving his audience from YouTube to his own app. Get his merchandise up now. He's written so many books and stuff. Why wouldn't you be selling your books that you wrote? Super chats can't be the only way you make money. And all the big super chatters are gone anyway. $5 here, that you're going to get, what, 66% off? That's not that great a deal compared to, you know, what some of the other people with equivalent size audience, live audiences are getting. And these stories about the scams, they're not going to go away. He needs to address the stuff directly. You know, the scam allegation, he needs to show if you paid the bill with the money that you got from GoFundMe, show it. Show the receipt. Answer some of the questions related to this, and without making it about some Umarian supporters, because I don't support Umar Johnson. I've been a critic of Umar Johnson longer than Lenon Honor. I was a critic back when he used to wear a suit, back in 2008, when he was just stealing other scholars' scholarship and wrapping it in his own little world, in his own words, and missing the point. Before he went to the hood side and put on his Philly hat. But him and Umar both, there's an opportunity for them both. They could actually, what would happen if Lenon Honor and Umar Johnson were to hold debates together? Put aside the personal beef stuff. Stop talking about his mother and his father and all these details, and so let's talk about the issues that you guys have, you know, that you guys are divided on. Their whole audiences would show up to hear those debates. But at this point, I think you would recognize, you would probably see that him and Umar, they're on the same side on most things. Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, he didn't even, you know, give the audience a chance to really, you couldn't talk about Medicaid. The word Medicaid, if I do a search over all of the transcriptions for that time period, the word Medicaid does not come up. It's like that was his weakness, was that he really operates like other people don't have life experience. Like no one's had a sick child before. You know, no one's had a CT scan before. Nobody knows how the medical system works. Like, come on, guy. It's only 10. I mean, what are you going to do with 10K anyway? How long did he really expect it to last? And I don't know if you heard his rationale for why he quit, when he was saying that the job was inflexible before. Well, that's the medical one. That one made me. I felt sorry for him in that one too. Let me redo my fair use real quick. I'm going to show the video I put up on Joe Trace. Fair use. And so this is that full one. I can use this as a guide. Oh, my battery's dying here. Man, that is sinister. I look at some of the stuff I did, I just scared myself. Like, man, look, that is sinister. look at that. That's the doctor. I just imagine if I was the person that this was targeted at, and I saw the doctor that I said told me I didn't need to take it out on the cover, I'd be scared to death.
By the way, Irene, no vaccinations for none of these babies. Okay? And that caused a lot of issues.
Can you guys hear that?
Friends, a lot of criticism, but they've been perfectly healthy. Sons have not been circumcised or genitally mutilated. Okay.
I want to talk about that part too. I don't know if you guys heard that part. I'm thinking about myself at this age, right? Lenon has no respect for anybody except himself. I really believe that. He definitely doesn't have any respect for his sons. Because to put them on the big screen like that in a public forum that's recorded and on the internet, and then to talk about them not being circumcised, bro, you don't have any respect for your kids. I'm pretty sure they didn't consent to that. That's crazy. If I was that age, I would be so pissed off. And it's all for what? It's all for his own clout. So he can show them the kind of person he is.
I was, and I also had the vaccines, but the idea is you want to do better for the next generation, okay? They've also been raised vegan too, by the way, so they haven't had any like dairy or, yeah, okay.
It ain't vegan now.
The doctor's been running tests. They did an ultrasound yesterday. And then today we have to take them to the hospital. They're going to do CT scans.
Now, that's a key point in this, is that ultrasound was the first day. Second day, they're going to do the CT scan, right? And then when you listen to Ayida tell the story at the end, actually, I don't even know if it's in this video. I have the other one I need to upload. When Ayida tells the story, she mistakenly tells the truth. And he stops her several times. That after the CT scan, they came in, the doctor came in and told him, this is not cancer. Right? The day of the CT scan. Afterward, he came in and said, looked at it like, this is not cancer. And we're going to do the biopsy to be sure, and then that's it. This whole thing took 3 days, but he stretched it out from May all the way to the middle of July, pretending to be sad. I believe that on this day, he was really worried because he took him and he didn't expect the doctors to say what they said.
We're going to take him to the hospital now. If you can pray for my son and pray for my family, I appreciate it.
And then if you pay attention to that disposition and then look at the next day, how different it is. Starts out, my wife and I have 5 children. All right. In my entire life, I've never known a parent to take a picture of their child getting a medical procedure Never heard of it. The hospital was not a place where people take pictures. Sorry.
Your emotional support. There's other things too. You know, I've been working my job. I've been putting in, you know, crazy hours. I think the week before last, I did 54 hours. And
I want to ask any man, is that a lot of hours? Why does he think that's a lot of hours?
Before that, I did 48 or 49. And, you know, we had this plan, my wife and I, we had this real beautiful plan.
We can see the difference in his composure, right? This next day, he's way more composed. He's reaching for emotion, but it's not there like it was on the day before when he really was fearful. Because, like his wife said in the later video, after the CT scan, the doctor came in and talked to them. And the doctor is a specialist that deals just with that. And he told them that this is not cancer. And that's why he's so composed on this day and trying to get to that emotional place.
And things were really turning around for us. And part of that plan was to make sure that we had everyone covered with health insurance. And we were working towards that, but
see, the interesting thing I was thinking about 2 days ago was, you know, someone would argue, well, yes, there must be a system in place that controls people, that keeps people in line so they won't do harmful things to other people, and they won't. That's why we have to have law, and I understand that. But for those of us who have come into a level of spirituality, we recognize that there are spiritual laws that govern the universe that will not allow us to harm people in the first place. So the need for such individuals to be governed, i.e. mind control, is not necessary.
Here we go.
Such individuals who have come to that level of understanding and spiritualization, where they will not harm other people, they don't need to have a state sanction their marriage. They don't have to have the state sanction the birth of their child, i.e. birth certificate. You got to sign a birth certificate now? What?
If you could hear this original source on headphones, you hear kids in the background playing. This is in a tiny place.
Why? That's part of the control network. And it puts the parent in a position, a subservient position to an authority figure. And the authority figure being the state. In some cases, the authority figure being the doctors who works on behalf of the state, who wants you to sign that paper, because that's a contract. Everything is based upon this business model, but it's not based upon spiritual principle. There's a difference. So part of the reason why my wife and I, we decided for our last 2 children, we didn't get Social Security numbers. And we won't be doing that. If our children want to do that when they turn a particular age, they can do that for themselves. But we must allow them sovereignty.
I guess I would say the color grading on that is beautiful, just like this is beautiful. That's all Da Vinci resolved. And now here's the other character. It makes you wonder, like, where is the real Lenon Honor? Like, does the real one exist? What's his real persona? Because there's so much acting. There's so many different little characters. And I think it's, there's a kind of we got to remember that in that video, because he's not talking to anybody. There's nobody in the room with him.
Couldn't wait any longer with James, so we went ahead and took him in. And right now we don't have health insurance for him. So the financial hit is going to be serious. We're talking with a social worker too. They're at the hospital, and they're going to be helping us to see what they can do.
The important part to recognize is that because we're all parents and we all been through the medical system before, is that the doctors in the medical system there, they didn't care that he didn't have insurance. They went forward with all of the testing and scheduled appointments for the removal and everything, because we all know you can deal with the money later. And there are all types of little pots of money to take care of kids without insurance. Federal level, state level, little foundations. There's all kind of ways to get the money, and they'll worry about the money later. This is not Africa. It's not you pay up front for your services, you know? And so the bill will just sit there. There's no reason to cry about the bill. You pay the bill when you can pay the bill. As soon as you get your Social Security stuff taken care of, then go get your service and it'll pay for it.
Don'ts. See, part of the spiritualization
process.
When we talk about the spiritualization of the human being, is to cause the human being to come into a high level of personal responsibility on every level, including creation itself. When we create one of these wonderful babies, to get to a point in our lives where we lay claim to every single experience related to that.
So the financial hit is.
I think that's why I never published it. I think I never published this one because it was just too going back and forth. It was too long, and I made like shorter excerpts that were more clear, that made a single point each, as opposed to releasing a longer one.
So I haven't talked to my wife about this yet, but I'm thinking about putting up a crowdfunding for my son. Could I need some help?
Now that's the key point. He's not crying about his son being hurt, his son being in pain, his son's that this might be cancer. Doesn't even come up anymore, right? He's crying about because the financial hit is going to be a lot, right? Like they're going to require him to pay up front.
He's 6.
2 weeks later. I think we watched that. Oh yeah. Okay. So this was a eye opener to me because I never knew that the crowdfunding goal was above that. I thought it was just 10,000 to start, but turns out it was 20,000 or so. It was more than 15,000 because they just lowered it to 15,000 in this. And it's also interesting that they didn't meet that $15,000 goal. And there's people in the comments on the Joe Trace channel saying that they unsubscribed after this because they knew he was lying. And the fact that this is supposed to be cancer and he didn't get to his goal means that his audience may have felt some kind of way. Because I think all parents know about the options for care for uninsured kids. I think the lowered amount will be enough to cover all the medical expenses thus far: doctor visits, CT scans, sonogram, biopsy. And this is June 2nd, right? We will still need to find out the doctor's recommended plan, what his recommended treatment plan will be. If more financial support is needed, I will adjust the goal accordingly. Yeah, why work when you can just get money for free?
Friday, we did get a call.
And that picture bothers me too. This picture, they took turns taking pictures doing this kind of thing. He took the picture of her, and then he took a picture, like who takes pictures at the damn hospital?
From the hospital, and our son James is cancer free.
So the GoFundMe says on the 2nd is when they got the information. He finally does a video on the 7th, 5 days later, right? And it's Thursday the 7th.
That was a huge relief for my wife and I. We're going to be going back on this coming Friday for a post,
which is tomorrow,
biopsy checkup, and then they'll be talking with us about treatment options. And what he's been diagnosed with is called a benign fibroadipose lesion. It's not life-threatening, and the doctor told us that it won't require long-term care, and that there are options. Surgery is an option. I looked online too, because it's considered to be rare. I looked online and there's other options too. But on Friday, he'll talk with us and let us know exactly what the options are and timeline and all that kind of stuff.
So why skip the meeting? Again, this is what points to it as being a scam. I don't know how else to explain. He needs to really answer the allegations in this. He needs to answer them in a non-manipulative way, just straight up. Even if that means he has to admit some things. But it don't make any sense that you would skip the appointment when you don't know what's going to happen. And then 2 weeks after this, you quit your job and you still haven't made the appointment.
I want to update everyone. That's where everything is at. And I'm going to go in today and talk with my boss that's for my shift. He's probably the fourth guy in charge here. I'll talk with him and let him look, man, I'm going to go ahead and put in that resignation next week, and then we'll let the chips fall where they're made.
To me, that's it. That's the end of the video. I don't think that anything else that can be said about it even matters. None of it matters. And when you come to this part of the video, it's kind of like a confirmation. He giving advice now.
Well, initially we went to the doctor because James had been complaining of he has a lump on his back, and he'd been complaining that it was hurting.
No, skip that too. Was it all just a scam? I say it's looking like a yes.
I'm going to start doing live streams again. And I know a couple of weeks back, it's been more than a couple of weeks, I told people that I put in my 2-week notice for my job. I did let that job go. Young man, if you're in your 20s, there's nothing wrong with working those 60 hours or 65 hours. If you're doing 50, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're earning your living and you know what you got to do. But I want you to also, in the background, at least in your mind, you need to be thinking beyond those 60 hours, because there's a whole lot of other things that you can do where you be earning a whole lot more money than you are currently working 50 hours or 60 hours or whatever it may be, and you can make that money in half the time or a quarter of the time.
Now somebody tell me, what else could he be talking about other than the GoFundMe? He has no other money schemes going. There's got to be a reference to the GoFundMe. And it's got to be a reference to his salary that he makes in a month as compared to the amount of money he just raised by scamming. I don't see what else he could possibly be talking about with that expression. And this is, again, we're trying to solve for an unknown variable. The unknown variable is, was this a scam? But we're using all the facts and operations around it to try to figure it out. Now, what does that expression indicate? In this context, at the end of this thing, with what he just talked about, what other thing is he talking about that you can make the money in a quarter of the time? The money that you would make from working 60 hours. He's talking about that GoFundMe. I think he really needs to answer up for this. And I think that horse is dead. I put it in the 1.5 recap of season 1. This video about him having his lymph node removed and what it means, and then the what is this one? Yeah, we did that already. Oh, y'all never heard this one, probably.
Video by Anti-Afro's Fingali, and I've been watching her since she first started posting videos there, and she is absolutely brilliant. She is my hero. Yes, she. I'm a grown-ass man. I got 5 children and a wife. My wife and I, we've been together now for 16, about to go on 17 years. I take my fatherhood responsibility seriously. I take manhood seriously. But one of my heroes is a woman, and her YouTube channel is Anti-Afro Svengalis, and it's dedicated to showing you all with receipts the truth that Umar Johnson is a fraud.
That's the second step on the genesis of the Umar Johnson thing. It was in December of 2017 where he started the internet-based leaders series. I think he did like 6 or 7 videos, and he touched on Umar and found that Umar was popular. And every time he talked about Umar, he got more views than he got in anything else that he was doing. And so at the end of this is before the scam. After the scam, he was trying all kind of different things, comedy, stuff with his kids, and none of it was hitting. And he had to go back to work, but then he started in 2018 to revisit the Umar stuff, and he finally found his core niche, because Umar, doesn't respond. And I think that is it. I don't want to talk about the big move. That's the spot and shout. You can talk about the big move. And anybody got any questions about all this stuff? Anybody out there? I should drop the link. Let me see if I can figure out how to drop the link. This is a whole different software, and this software is stable. I haven't had any trouble out of this software at all. It really is stable. Hey, what's up? I was just looking at a video with Corey tapped into Lenon in 2020. So that on the screen right there shows the number of people on Rumble, YouTube, and Twitch. You guys should try this software. Try Rumble's. Even if you don't use Rumble so much, you can just stream to YouTube from it. And you can have up to 5 guests, and you can even have StreamYard come into this. And so there's a whole bunch of things you can do with it, and it's stable and it's free. And that's what makes it better than EVMux, because it's free. EVMux has way more features. You got to work out some issues with it still. And where is this link at? I think it's under live. They got campaigns. Like I could read you a commercial right now because I got more than 3 people. I could read you a commercial and get paid per viewer. All the commercials are like some right wing stuff, some right wing talking points. Oh, it's right there. So the link for there's 2 kinds of links in this software. One kind of link is for joining the panel. Another kind of link is for just you're able to record a 1-minute audio or video clip and send it to me in the studio, and I could decide to show it or not show it. But it's a way for people to submit their ideas about something. And I guess it's if you were going to advertise your show ahead of time and you put the link, if you guys got something to contribute, just hit the link and record your portion and send it to me. That's a good idea. And there's another on the roadmap. They have other features where you're going to be able to receive phone calls and some other stuff, all for free. So if anybody want to come up here and talk about it or ask a question, just hit the link. I think the link went out on Twitch, and I don't see it on Rumble though. It's on Twitch and YouTube. And where's the other kind of link at? Also, every single Rumble channel is monetized from jump, from day one. And so you can start receiving support from the first live stream. That's why I don't understand why more people in the sector don't, even if they don't primarily stream on Rumble, why don't you simulcast to Rumble also? And if somebody wanted to, watching your YouTube, wants to send you money, they can just click your Rumble link and go send the money through Rumble. Hey, Stephanie, find make a change and tell him I'm sorry. He was right. I was wrong. It happens every 75 years. He still uses Adobe products. And oh, Mikey didn't show up today. I had some stuff for Mikey. I want to play him some more music. YouTube is dead. YouTube is for the older crowd. It's the older people on YouTube. It's for longer conversations. It's not dead. You can only do so much with those short conversations. I think that those people will make their way over to YouTube eventually. You know you got a connection directly to Mac, Stephanie. He's mad at me forever. I really should be mad at Bombay for telling me the sound was fine. But since I am Bombay, I can't be mad at myself. Yeah. I'm not making fun of you for crying, Lenon. I should do a tribute to Lenon Honor and show his good content from back in the day when he was like a productive member of society. There's a video from one of his followers. I think the dude is from, maybe he looks like he may be Thai, maybe Thailand. That sent Lenon Honor a whole video telling him to please stop doing Umar Johnson content and come back to doing the other stuff. What's happening, Mikey? Don't be mad, Mikey. I need to find that commercial. Hey, Mikey, he likes it. He likes it. Hey, Mikey. Yeah, I think I didn't put it down. I got to find that video. Let me get rid of some of this stuff. But Lenon Honor's old content is good content. I don't know why he took it down. Let me get rid of this. I'm not going to show that. I'm not going to show that. I'm not going to show that. I try as much as possible to leave his wife out of it, but she's just in so much of the mess at the same time. Yeah. Nah, he was Make a Change was talking about the audio from the video, from the Lenon video. He couldn't hear. He was talking about being able to hear me. He was talking about being able to hear the video, but because he's not really American, he didn't really articulate it clearly. So it's kind of his fault still. But I still owe him an apology. I'm sorry, Make a Change. It is kind of his fault. Let's see. What else do I got in here? I didn't upload any clips. Not really. What is that? Are you talking about, oh, Corey, you talking about his wife? No, she's working. That's why Lenon is living better, is that he released his capable wife back out into the world. And so she's back working, getting certified, working in the school system. Get out of Star's computer. Do you still have? that's the real Bombay that's in Star's computer. I don't think people even have computers anymore. I think everybody's on their phone, an iPad. What was Star saying about that, Bombay? It was what was the software that she was saying was was spying on her? It was was it Udacity? I think it's Udacity, right? The audio software. Audacity. Udacity is actually the learning software, but Audacity. Because Audacity, I swear, they have updates for that software like every 3 days. It must be just badly written. But and it used to be spyware, but it doesn't mean you could spy on somebody if they install it. It just means that it's watching what you're doing and advertising to you. Yeah, I use Audacity all the time. I wonder if it's spying on me. But I hear a lot of stuff about that they say about Lenon, but they have vitriol for Lenon, and that's their weakness, because they're not concerned with being accurate. They're just concerned with casting him as a a bad guy. And when he is a bad guy, but at least be accurate with it. The same thing with Lenon and Umar. He's trying to cast, for example, this last show, he's trying to cast Umar Johnson's father as a bad guy, and he plays a clip of Umar Johnson's father saying exactly the same stuff that he says. Him and Umar Johnson's father agree about Umar, but he's pretending like Umar Johnson's father is saying something bad. Hey, and the plot twist to that speakeasy is that Star don't have a computer. That's the microwave. She'll figure it out eventually.
Video by Anti-Afro Svengali, and I've been watching her since she first started posting videos there, and she is absolutely brilliant. She is my hero. Yes, she. I'm a grown-ass man. I got 5 children and a wife. My wife and I, we've been together now for 16, about to go on 17 years. I take my fatherhood responsibility seriously. I take manhood seriously. But one of my...
See, I can't be mad at him. He's too serious. There's no way to be mad at him when he's that serious. We're watching a person really just try to find themselves online, publicly, while living through stuff at the same time. It's hard, really hard, to cast Lenon as a bad guy, because he's not a bad guy. He just is obsessive. And so he does something to death.
Girls is a woman, and her YouTube channel is Anti-Afro Svengalis, and it's dedicated to showing you all with receipts the truth that Umar Johnson is a fraud.
Yeah, I gotta find that video. Yeah, I ain't never met a person to tell you how many kids they got every time you see them. I got 5 kids. I'm a married man. Like, wow. Hey, Stephanie Collins, you can stop trying to pretend like you wasn't on that team. I remember, I was here.
I've been watching her since she first started posting videos there.
And look, there's no reason. The war is over.
She is my hero.
The good guys is dead.
Yes, she. I'm a grown-ass man. I got 5 children and a wife. My wife.
The whole world knows that Umar Johnson is just running around, sweeping in front of his building.
I take my fatherhood responsibility seriously. I take manhood seriously. But one of my heroes is a woman, and her YouTube channel is Anti-Afro Svengalis, and it's dedicated to showing you all with receipts the truth that Umar Johnson is a fraud.
I have a theory, though, as to why in the car at that moment he's thinking about Umar, because he's thinking about the money that Umar raised. The first time he ever said what he's saying now, it was in September of 2017, right? And he said it talking about the fact that people sent him that much money, but a good guy like him can't raise enough money to do that, and he's messing it up for the rest of us, right? So whenever he thinks about AAS and Umar, it's always connected to the fact that he has to work now. This whole time period he's in his car, from September all the way through December, all those are in the car videos. And he's really feeling some kind of way about having to work I think Umar's international trips are paid for by the people that are bringing them over. I should have had that video ready. I got so much content. I spent like 2 hours going through content. I was supposed to go live 2 hours before, but I got sucked into a hole looking at old content from like 2014, 2015. I don't know. I think the AAS stuff aged. I think he still admires AAS. I just think that her, the AFW mission has changed. I don't know why they stopped doing Umar Johnson stuff. Maybe it's something legal. I mean, at least online, public facing. And but again, Lenon uses everybody to get to what he wants. He's really just about that money. And but you can see at that time period, that was conviction. He really was focused on that as being an issue. And I think now it's about money, but I think in the beginning, he really was still believing he was a good guy just before he got pulled over to the dark side. And I think it was the YouTube group, the good guys, that killed his fundraising forever. He could never put up another crowdfunding, ever. I don't know if did they really use each other? I don't know. I don't know if they did. I know I walked away with the when I was over there with the Yassas thing. I was like, you don't care about black people at all. Restaurant business is everybody working in a restaurant need that job. And during COVID, the world was ending. You remember the world was ending? I don't know if people remember that, but it was the end of the world. And people were full of anxiety and, worried about how they're going to make money. And people that work in a restaurant, they need their money. And calling the health department on a restaurant because you disagree with a person that has an event at the restaurant is the most sinister shit I can think of. And you don't care about black people at all. And that's when it became clear. That don't even make sense. Because they agreed to a business arrangement, they need to call the health department. And what about the people that work in that restaurant that depend on that $80 they're gonna make that night to pay for their light bill? Because remember, COVID, the world was ending. Everything had stopped, literally. And nobody knew what was going to happen next. It was almost just like 9/11. That's the last time I remember that happening was 9/11. All the planes were grounded. Whole economy ground to a halt. So you have to sort of look at the whole thing. Like, well, are you really telling us to call because Umar is going to go sell his book to what, 30 people, 40 people? So what? And that was the beginning, I think, of a whole big movement against Lenon. It was that you just revealed that we thought that maybe you cared about the stuff you say, but this action proves that you don't. And the biggest mistake, though, was they decided to lie. That it was the young guys that were in control of what they were going to do next on that side. And they just chose to, there was enough, if they would just told the truth, it would have been better. We're bringing in all these lies about it. You're just trying to make up stories about him. That's just a mistake. You gave him the moral high ground. And Umar was semi-popular. How can I highlight comments in this thing? They're all on the screen anyway, I guess. He used to be on the radio. Yeah, I still remember his radio show called Word, only black-owned radio station in PA. Yeah. I knew him from, this was back during the paragraph time, like Black Voices time. And we used to talk about serious topics, multiple paragraphs, and we were arguing points, arguing about the actual topics. We weren't talking about each other. Like, it was all about intellectual topics, you know. And when they sold Black Voices to Huffington Post, and Huffington Post flushed all of that content, I wrote them personally, like, give the content to me. It should be archived or something to throw away all those conversations. And they just threw it all out because they just wanted to name Black Voices for their newspaper or for their online paper. So even though Black Voices was a successful Black business made by Black people, sold for a lot of money, they just took all the content, threw it straight in the garbage. I still have that whole website archived though, the whole structure of it, 40 something, 30 something, the whole setup. Anything you start, I mean, it's you know, if it's about money, it's going to be sold. BET, right? Well, what's the difference? BET was a Black owned, Black started, Black everything. It was so positive in the beginning, crazy positive in the beginning. Only positive images, and got sold. And you could say that really what happened is Viacom became partly Black owned because they gave a lot of stock to the owner of BET. He became like a third owner of Viacom. But, you know, he disappeared. I wish I had more of that stuff archived from Black Voices, because I wasn't a Black Planet person. Black Planet people and Black Voices people were different people. It's a different world. Because Black Planet was really a dating site. You know, people talking over there, but it really was about dating. And Black Voices was like a, you know, other stuff. YouTube has kind of captured some of that, but the trend toward short topics and micro blogging and micro everything has shortened people's patience, shortened people's comprehension, you know, shortened everything down to just little, you know, these little blocks. And the old beauty sector in YouTube has now become all these other sectors. If you dig back far enough in all these channels, you'll find there was beauty content in the beginning. I think all of YouTube, these sectors, is all built on Black women's beauty content. Beauty, that sector became all this other stuff. Because I remember many of those channels in the beef sector, Lady Nika, Treasure Lane had a different name. They were all people just doing Real Housewives of Atlanta reviews way back when. And they turned into these other things, you know. Once you lose your topic, then you become this other, you know, become this other thing. Like our sector became something else once the topic was lost. Once the good guys gave up the ghosts, literally and figuratively, all disappeared, body slammed by the AFW. And Lenon stopped talking about anything. He disappeared for what, a month and a half? And I think it's actually what predates that. What made everybody become kind of cannibalistic was YouTube changed the requirements to get monetized. And people had to figure out a way to, you know, that's back when people were making a lot of money from YouTube. And times have changed. World's not ending anymore. Yeah, something about I think the beauty channels, it is the culture of all these channels, the way that they fight, is all female. It's all female. Even the Mo3, what does Mo3 call it when you get two people on the panel talking shit to each other? They call it scratching. That's housewife lingo. And I grew up in a family with women who argued and fought on the phone and everything. This is an extension of woman culture. And that's why I refuse to ever be on a panel yelling and screaming at some guy. I'm like, I'm a man. I'm not gonna be up there arguing. Men can't get away with that kind of talk. If you get in the habit of being someone that pop off to other men, you're gonna get murdered. At least where I come from. You lose touch with reality and you say the wrong thing, you're gonna get shot. You're gonna get murdered in some way. That's why men give each other respect. We give each other a wide berth. We don't just say disrespectful stuff to each other. Women can do it because women get a lot of leeway. Go ahead, they can say whatever they want to say. Maybe less so in 2025 than before, but because all those beauty sectors are the foundation, that culture of that woman culture becomes like the dominant culture. And so you see men up here equating manhood with getting on the panel and arguing with somebody, saying stuff about trying to dirty the reputation. That's all woman territory. Be a man and hit the link. Really? Say some stuff about me in my face. In your face over the internet? How? You don't even cam up. But I think it's dangerous for men to really engage because, again, whatever you say, whether it's a game or not, or virtual or not, that becomes a habit for the way you express yourself. And if you get in the habit, you spend more time online talking to people than you are offline talking to people, the way you talk online is going to become the way you talk. And something happened, that whole lingo that you use online is going to come out of your mouth for real, and you're going to get knocked out, or worse, it's going to make you knock somebody out. It's going to put you in a confrontation where it's either them or you. That's why whenever I hear somebody really popping off online, I think it's something wrong with them. Like there must be something wrong with that person. You must be joking or something. He's talking too tough. I've never had a live stream with no music. This is making me crazy. But I think I covered all of my stuff. I wish I had that clip to play though. Maybe I'm just making another live stream, but that last one. I kind of feel like the Medical Expenses Gofundme thing is clear. It's enough points been made to really figure out the variable. Is this a scam or not? Everybody's gonna make their own determination. You can't force anybody's hand. Him quitting his job, clue. Him getting the same kind of surgery, not mentioning it, clue. That last video is a big clue of him trying to force her to say, this about the timeline, but I don't really believe that anybody can keep the timeline straight. So I think even if I show it, it'll be, it won't mean anything. You was joking when you did what, TMK? I think this got like a 7-second delay. That's crazy. I mean, I could see arguing. I understand, for like a couple of phrases, but I mean, I can't see really just getting up and, I don't know, I just can't do it. I know we put the wrap around it, the roasting wrap around a bunch of stuff, but that roasting moniker is placed on it after the fact. Was it really roasting? I don't know. If they both ain't laughing, it's not roasting. Popped off on the panel. Hit the link, TMK. I type way more words in your chat than you type in mine. I come with my paragraphs already printed up. I just copy and paste them in there. Bang. The hate that self-hate produce. Oh, I remember that. That's the binary code thing. I give him binary break because he was too spooked. Talk about he's going to come to my house. Yeah, okay, guy. I think the anonymity does give people freedom, but I don't know if it's just that. I don't know. I don't know if it's something more to it. I think it's a lot of people are just off balance. Like if you go back to school and you think about if the homeroom teacher came in and said, we're having a talent show tomorrow, right, in front of the whole school. Who wants to be in it? Which kids would raise their hand? The really talented one might raise his hand. It's usually only one or two. The crazy ones will raise their hand too, though, right? So you put a microphone out in the middle of town, you're going to see a lot of crazy people walk up to the mic. It's just something about being able to be in front of everybody and say what you want that attracts people that are a little off balance. So you drop that link and hey, right there, right? With nothing really to say, but just it's just there for the opportunity to say something. I saw that slur you put in mine. I think you just said the same thing twice, Stephanie Collins. It's a redundant sentence. Beer muscles. Yeah, I guess you could call it that. You know, with crazy people, it's like that. It's like when you see somebody that's insane, the rush is to stop them from saying something. Like, get them off of the mic. Don't let them say what they're going to say. But if you in a sector like this where people just are just honored to have somebody hit that link, like, well, you'll go to each show and see the same people on the panel saying the same exact thing they just said, fighting the same fights. That's why Mikey mad at me now. But you don't even know why it mattered to you. That's I can recite Mikey's whole argument for any situation, but he still hits the link and they still let him up. I think the platform has got to just start saying no to people. Like, no, you don't talk honestly. You don't have anything to contribute here. I don't want to see a bunch of people being disrespected, you know. It's another level of conversation we could really be having, but that other thing has got to die, at least in certain spaces. Like, we all can't be in that entertainment, you know, she's yelling at him, he's yelling at her kind of space. And no matter what we do afterward, we are all guaranteed to get trolled by Photon. Have you on the screen talking about you for 3 hours, talking about what he's not going to do. I ain't here to be enjoying folks and having fruitful conversations and being nice. Everybody, I did a skit about in the clouds about, we were doing a skit called The Sector Goes to the Gym. This reminds me of, and Photon's in front of the Stairmaster saying, I ain't here to be just walking stairs forever to nowhere. He does his whole I ain't here to be with every single machine, just lifting weight for no reason. No matter what you do, you'll be on Photon's Summer Jam screen. No matter what you do. So even when Stephanie Collins started going live, finally, and Spadum Shalom started going live as Spadum Shalom instead of these untypable names, you're guaranteed a spot on the Sector News. Oh, Mike, you got a live dedicated to somebody? Whoever could it be? What's happening, LV? I need to send all these clips to LV. LV owes us some more documentary work. I think LV never saw this clip about his own medical issue that's similar to the one that his son's supposed to have. I need to put these out. I think I'm gonna put all these clips that I showed tonight on the Rumble Joe Trace channel. So anybody that want to download them and use them for their own stuff can do it. And let me look in this directory real quick, see if I can find something. I will send you an email, LV, but Bombay told me don't email nobody because, you know, that leads to trouble. You know, Photon to me, Photon's show has been my favorite show, actually. You know, because I think that his show is it's in the same vein as it's instantly recognizable. There's certain things in the sector that are just sector iconic in a way. Photon's show, AAS's posts, you can see, even without even hearing it, you can tell that that's an AAS post, right? Her content has got a whole certain kind of style, you know, and Photon has a certain kind of style. Back when he was really in his creative mode, before he got, I ain't gonna say that, but way back when, it was like exciting to come and see what he's gonna talk about. You had no idea what he's gonna talk about. It wasn't as simple as somebody had a great show last night, so we can look forward to Photon hating the next day. You know, and that's what it is now. Somebody has a good show and people show up, you guarantee Photon gonna be in his feelings about it the next day. Because the people that hit the link didn't hit his link. Well, that's just it's just like another waste of ability. I mean, I don't get it. That's the model for a sector show. It's his show. With the creativity, with the interest, but because he doesn't know how to be influential and he wants to be competitive instead, or just being a regular New Yorker, I think, he doesn't know how to allow his influence to be used without saying, well, you stole that from me. Well, no, just be influential. You know, people admire you. That's why they get so much in their feelings whenever you criticize them. They won't say they admire him now, but I mean, I think so. I think people admire Photon. If he was to come and say something positive, then they would, you know, or even just say nothing, they would appreciate it. Because as it is now, we're going to get no new content creators in this sector because they don't want to be on the Summer Jam screen. Hey, Windows 95 with 56K was the premium. That was fast. That was super fast. State of the art. TMK, you say you think the panels are too dependent on panels? Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know if I could say anybody is to anything. I mean, it is what it is. People do, you know, it's social media. People really come together just to be together, just to talk. There's nothing wrong with them having a panel to talk, you know. I would say it's too much anything because it depends on what kind of channel it is. Is it a channel that's here for just to have some place to be? Or is it, you know, is it trying to prove a point, or is it trying to make money, or all the above? I think the model for the sector is we got to have a clips channel to keep everybody up to date because we all can't be watching everything. We got to have somebody that's going to review everything that happened, at least 2 channels, so we get 2 different perspectives. And then we need to have people that are doing original content. And the original content is just original conversations about whatever they're talking about. And that's a good balance. But you can't, you know, mandate it. Or, you know, you're doing too much of this. I don't know. I like Propane Show. Propane Show is always interesting to me because it's free flowing. Whoever shows up, shows up. Whoever doesn't, you know. The worst thing in the sector to me was that blackout nonsense. Coordinating to not, coordinating to make artificial effects on people's channels as opposed to letting people do whatever they do. Josephine, when you get your laptop back. I don't know. I don't think that using other people. I think reactions is what video-based social media is. Reactions is that's what we do. We talk about what happened. The news is just reactions to what happened in the world. You know, I think there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that not wanting to say no to anybody and having the same people on every panel, in particular Mikey. Look, and I'm not targeting Mikey. I'm just saying, when Mikey hit the panel, it's just time to go. You know what he's going to say. You know, it's just like, well, why are you wasting this energy listening to what Mikey has to say? You know, and I feel like Mikey keeps me off of panels, actually. If I see Mikey on the panel, I will not be hitting that link. And I'm nobody, but I'm just like, I'm not going to be in the conversation with this dude. And if he doesn't have the sense to know that maybe you shouldn't hit that link, maybe you should allow this show just to go on without you. See what somebody else has to say. Yeah, I halfway believe he has kids too. I remember he had kids and lied about kids, and then, yeah. And I just don't want to talk about the same thing all the time. And, you know, we got the option to leave and come, and I'm involved in so many sectors anyway. It's not a loss to me, but in terms of the people that want to spend time together, you know, having time to be together, it'd be better if people didn't allow all the same people on every panel. Say no sometimes, or have a subject or something. Darrell has been interesting lately. You know, he's been doing his topics. I think the Umar Johnson topic coming back around is good for him and some other people. And Umar Johnson topic was a way for all of us to get away from the bullshit. It gives us a true north again, because it's something clear that exists in the world for real, where up is up and down is down, as opposed to these narrative kind of wastelands and these blackouts where there is no more truth, and you're being asked to ignore what you see. You know, these are not the joys you're looking for everywhere you go. You know, it gets stressful to have to pretend like you don't know that dude is a strangler. Like, bro, that's you, clearly. And the narrative thing is like out of control. Somebody got to make a video about that. I think I want to do that. The narrative style of the sector, where it comes from, when it started. I think it started from the good guys. And the Cole fam took it to the next level. And now Stargate has it on lock. Josephine don't go live no more, does she? Yeah, I think Mikey's pretending he has children too. I thought we had that before, where we found out that Mikey was pretending he had children. Yeah. I think that part of it is like the ignoring facts and truth is that I think some people are aimed at other people's audience. Like, they're mad that some people have an audience still. Right? And you saying, well, how come he has an audience? Well, everybody will have an audience on the internet. Charles Manson would have a huge audience on the internet. It don't matter what kind of person you are, if you just be honest, and the kind of people that are compatible with you will come to you on the internet. So you could be a strangler, you can be a groper, you can be whatever you want to be. The people who don't care about that will be right there by your side. Oh, you're so funny. They'll be right there with you because they don't care. And if you hang around long enough, you will figure out why they don't care. Hang around long enough and it'll become clear. Oh, that's why when he told the groping story, the guy that was on the panel with him didn't say anything about it. That guy was Mikey. But see, we didn't really know Mikey back then like we know Mikey now. And so every single thing that happens, the people that's compatible with you are compatible with you for a reason. You know? And if you're cool with that, then, you know, that's fine. But you should be asking yourself, like, why are you okay with that? If I'm talking about mushing women, or I'm talking all this shit about women, and you a woman and you don't care, why? You should at least ask the question. I think that's what originally got me interested in the sector. Back during, I think what got me interested was I was on TCTV channel, I think the most in the beginning. Because it was like the panels was like people just talking shop. It's like a content creators after party. People talking about shop, talking about YouTube. And TC taking its own trips to the gas station or to the ice cream truck. And a bunch of characters coming up, people calling up. I remember Binary and Identity can't call, or hit the panel, and we thought they was white kids. And it's interesting in that way, it was interesting in that way. And again, the world was ending. Everything was frozen. It's a whole different world than now. I wonder what the next end of the world is going to be. Who you talking about? Who trolling you? Who trolling you, Mikey? Mikey, you feeling like the victim? Nobody trolling you? Look, if you say you have kids, look, nobody knows if anybody has anything, right? I can make a bot that behaves exactly like you. Call him Mikey124. We don't know anything about anybody. We're just talking about the idea of everything. And the idea is, if you got kids and they're away from you and you ain't seen them in 2 years, and that's your story, that's your context, people around you are going to talk about it. They're going to say something about that. That's it. What the truth is, of course, you know the detail. Nobody else knows the detail. I think your kids might be Sims. Little virtual kids that you pay every month for or something. But it's just the idea. All of this is just about the idea, And what happened to my screen? Man, this is too much content. I should do a show that just shows old sector content. I was looking at old remix shows yesterday. First channel. People's first live stream. I got a little directory of people's first lives. Yeah, that be father thing is crazy in the fatherhood sector. I don't know any sector where fatherhood comes up as much as here. People actually go at each other's fathers like elementary school. Like, my daddy will beat your daddy. This is a fatherhood where fatherhood is relevant. Oh, there it is. Okay. Let me get this CancerGate the script edit. That's a big file right there, boy. I did so much research for this that this is kind of scary, actually. Just the facts. That's it. Okay, I can show this one. Let me get rid of something over here. All right. I just want to talk about that one part. This is way too long. I like that, showing the starting body language. The body language changes as he gets nervous, worried about what she's going to say. The cuts that he makes in this video. Because he was really worried about what she was going to say. Like, oh, wish I had a shorter version of it. You still talking about your kids, Mikey? Don't worry about it, bro. If you really don't care what people are saying, you won't be saying so much. It's all right. Okay, where's that? I'm so tired of this story. I just want to show the part where he tries to talk her out of her rendition of the story. He stopped doing content with her because he can't control what she says. I thought initially that it was she stopped doing content with him until she came back into the content with him after a long time, and she said it's nice to be welcome, because it was him. He's the one that stopped doing content with her. He was too deep into the lie part of the story. He couldn't have her saying truthful shit.
Who had also had experience with cancer when she was younger. And
Well, this is a whole
we
one.
all went together to Primary Children's Hospital.
I went in with him for the CT scans. They put him in this. They laid him down.
They laid him
changed
down
his
in
clothes,
this
they laid him down. They
circular
put him in
machine.
this.
This machine that I've been in myself, because I had the same thing. Lying ass.
Tunnel thing, and then it spins and it makes it sound.
He also had to drink a certain liquid.
Yeah. They put an IV in though. We get done with that, and
Let me tell you, this is a just the facts edit of that final 48-minute video that they put out. So all the reasoning is cut out. It's just this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. Just the facts. That's what the cuts are. The abrupt cuts are. The fade cuts are his own edits. Those will show up.
Come back out, and then we leave.
yeah.
And it's
we
a
were
long
there, though,
hours
though.
and hours
Yeah, we
and
were there
hours.
for way longer than what we thought. I think.
But didn't the doctor speak with us that day?
See, now that is the key question, right? So I know I started this late, but they talked about the process all the way up through the blue shot where he's, the day after the CT scan, right? They talked about all the way up through the CT scan, and she's saying, didn't the doctor come talk to us that day? Because the doctor did come talk to them after the CT scan. They had already done the ultrasound, all the blood work, everything. And they scheduled them for the CT scan. Right after the CT scan, the doctor came in and explained to them that it was not cancer. He doesn't want her to say that. And so this whole video, he's trying to get her not to say it. He's cutting and restarting again. And this is the first time that she did it.
Did he speak?
Somebody.
Did it say that? You got to get comfortable to consider it. Hold on. Did he come in and talk to us? I don't know.
Did he speak?
Somebody spoke with
No,
us
no,
about the results.
that was the.
It says somebody spoke with us about the results, right? And this is on day 2. So first blue video, he's crying. That's day 1. Actually, it's the physical day 2, but day 1 for this purposes. The ultrasound was the day before that. The day that he got the CT scan is the day where he's crying that we saw on Speakeasy's video. And after that CT scan on that day, the doctor came in and talked to them about the results. It's exactly how it would go. He would not talk to them about the results. He talked to them about the results. And Ayida keeps on bringing it up. And Lenon keeps on trying to interrupt her and change it into something different. Talking about the social services guy. That's not the results. You wouldn't get confused between the finance guy and the results for your child that may have cancer. You wouldn't get those two mixed up. And you can see that Lenon's being deceptive.
Remember the guy, real cool dude.
Insurance.
What Ayida is looking at is the whiteboard where he's written out an outline.
Yeah, he's a social worker that works there. He has a specific title, but he had called me before. We had been talking with different people.
So he's deflecting now. Of course, she didn't get the results of the medical procedure mixed up with the guy who's talking about insurance and financing.
Calling us, whether it is from the
She's trying to go along with what he has written on the board.
Or from the clinic, different doctors. But he was a caseworker there, a social worker, and he met us there.
He was helping us to understand.
So you see that cut? That cut is Lenon's cut. And you can see the nervousness in Lenon's face. He's trying to really control the narrative. This cut, that fade, that's from his own video. And she goes from that to now she's going to re-explain.
It's helping us to understand that it doesn't have to be an overwhelming process.
Right? But that's not what she was saying. She was saying it's the guy talked to us about the results after the CT scan, not about this thing that he's cut into to make it seem like she's talking about that.
As far as getting the insurance thing together and making sure that
he brought us paperwork and all this kind of stuff, and we're still working
to kind of get us started.
See that? The impatience. He wants her to shut up. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To kind of get us started on the right track, which we are. We're on the right track. And that's part of it being off the grid, is that we were off the grid, so this forced us to really get all this type of paperwork together, and that was a huge process that we weren't expecting to really dive into so quickly.
And we debunked that. I think I debunked that last video by showing that as far back as when he got the job in September, they were talking about the son's issue. And in December, when he finally qualified for insurance, he's talking about the lump then. So it wasn't by surprise. This is what, 8 months later?
An example, living off the grid.
He wants to elaborate on every deflection point and make it into a longer story.
Our last 3 we did home birth, so they don't have birth certificate or social security card. But see, if not having that put me in a position that even though I had insurance through my job, I couldn't put them on the insurance. So
you couldn't put your spiritual wife on the insurance either.
At least not right away.
Yeah, at least not right away. And I already had to work 3 months just to get my insurance activated.
My insurance. And for this portion, you have to watch Ayida's face.
But then, we didn't have paperwork in order in advance. We were just not prepared.
Yeah.
What happened?
Prepared.
Yeah.
We were not
That's
prepared.
what it is we weren't prepared. So it really it felt even worse than what it really was. So we got the CT scan, and then of course
got the CT scan.
There was more waiting for results, and a pediatrician called us.
They told us they were going to have the results by that Friday.
And we didn't get them.
And we didn't get a phone call or anything.
That's what they should have said. Okay, this is the first, second, and third step.
They didn't tell us that.
But they didn't tell us that. We were uninformed, But I did talk to my mom, who had also had experience with cancer when she was younger, and my grandmother too. So they helped me understand, and I think they helped you understand too, that really you have to get second and third opinions. Yeah. Don't go by what one person says.
That's what I kept saying. I was like, I took a week off, a little bit over a week off.
Then we were told
we had to wait.
See that? He's over talking her because he wants to make sure that she doesn't deviate from the timeline that he set previously. And the fact is, after the CT scan, the specialist told him that this was not cancer.
That weekend,
he's guiding her.
We had to wait that weekend, and
we had to wait through the weekend.
Come on now. Now, where have we seen that same kind of thing before? Remember that in the video about the cardboard? I guess I'm just blocking it out. We had to wait the weekend. Lying.
Wait that weekend, and
we had to wait through the weekend.
Just one more time. We had to wait through the weekend.
And
we had to wait through the weekend. The pediatrician did call us with some results.
That she is again talking about results. And Lenon doesn't want her talking about that.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
But those results were inconclusive as well.
And that was the first day. And she's looking at the list that he has on the whiteboard next to them.
She's not the expert. She doesn't. That's not her expertise.
Specialty.
She doesn't know.
She's the pediatrician that we've only we only dealt with her twice.
The pediatrician is who they went to first, and where he got the ultrasound, and she called them that night with the results from the ultrasound. And they referred to go get the CT scan. They called them back to the office, and then they referred to get the CT scan the next day.
No, we hadn't. No, she didn't do. She didn't do
everything.
Anything.
Was sent to other places.
Yes, but she did not examine James or anything like that.
See, I think if we had given birth in the hospital, we would understand the process, the
Maybe.
hospitals, the steps that you go through. You know.
Now this is the part where I say Lenon was supposed to chime in and say, I had a similar problem when I was in the 10th grade. I had to have a whole lymph node removed. Removing a lymph node is not trivial. It's not something you ever forget. And it's really relevant in this moment when she's talking about we just didn't know.
Dealing with doctors and dealing with the medical field and everything. But we have been so away from using hospitals for anything because we've never had any issues to have to go.
If you go look at Lenon breathing, look at his eyes, look at, he's in panic mode. If this was an interrogation.
Issues to have to go.
That's true.
That
Guilty.
we don't understand the process. Everybody around us does. You know, your mom,
but the thing
my
is,
parents.
They do have protocols, and there's a process that they go through,
Right.
and we're aware of it now, but we weren't aware of it then. It's like it's not logical for you to go from 1 to 100 on the scale of best case scenario to worst case scenario based upon what was it? Ultrasound.
Ultrasound,
Yeah.
X-rays.
No,
urine
and I know at
tests.
that point when she said what she said, it's all they had was the ultrasound. That
Oh.
was it.
Yeah, the pediatrician, you're talking about the first day. He's decided to make his anger be about what the pediatrician did and them not telling him the right thing. And so for a lot of the video, it's just him reiterating the same point, that he's angry that this process went this way. And whenever she starts to talk about the actual order of what happened, he cuts her off.
Okay.
Right, and then they're saying that it's this rare form of cancer based upon ultrasound.
And that's a lie, that they said it was a rare form of cancer based on the ultrasound.
It's put us in a position as parents to really get our stuff together when it comes to plugging back in to the matrix, if you will, to the system. And we've been,
there are benefits to it.
Yeah, there are.
And the point of that is that she's the one that plugged them back in. She wanted her kids to get an education, to have a chance in life.
And there are benefits to it.
Yeah, there are. But we've been, throughout our time together, we have been kind of anti-state, we just lived a very different type of life. Not that it's wrong, but it's just that we've been more about family and what we want to do and how we want to raise our children, so on and so on.
Well, we had a different lifestyle than the norm.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But even when we moved here, we started plugging in a little bit more plugging in. But this whole experience has forced us to really plug in. But I also think that it's part of our journey too as parents and
it's
part
a
of
whole
our family
learning
journey.
experience.
Yeah, it really. And this whole experience has been
She's so supportive. I'm so jealous.
learning experience. I just think that it was a hard lesson to learn. It really was a very difficult lesson. And not that a person can't live an alternative type of lifestyle. That's not what we're saying. I think that our alternative way of living our life and raising our family, it has had extreme benefits. And if you meet our children,
what's happening now, for people who don't know them and their content, is that they're having an argument because the person that he's trying to make the case for the so-called alternative lifestyle that he chose for them. And she is on the opposite end saying, there's benefits to being plugged into kids being able to go to school and all these other things. And he couldn't let that point pass. And so he circles back to try to, make it seem like what he was doing before was okay.
Especially when our children were younger.
Yeah.
I think
he gets more and more impatient. Yeah. Yeah.
I think we did the right thing, but I think as they get older, they have to be plugged into the system to a degree to be able to accomplish what their goals are.
Boom. Now that is a huge statement, and that's her independent. This is all her doing. She's the one who released her kids from Lenon's bullshit. He didn't want them to go to college. He didn't want them to go to school. He wanted to completely control their lives. And she's on the opposite end. And there's a bunch of other videos that confirm it.
Yeah, that's
and it's
that's true.
Yeah, that's
and it's separate from what we
uncomfortable,
want for them.
boy.
Now it's their choice.
Yeah.
Go back and watch his face. Watch his face the whole time. He is pissed. I wish I had my other program. I'm gonna do this in DaVinci Resolve next time so I can use my other equipment.
And it's
Hold up.
separate from what we want for them. Now it's their choice, as they get older, especially teenagers, so that was the main reason why we were slowly getting on track.
But this experience made it to where we had
it
to
propelled us into it. So just to go to the next step, we were told that we needed to go ahead and do a biopsy because they needed to get more proof really for their facts, their supposed facts that they had.
Yeah, but the thing is, the biopsy is what ultimately, that's when they actually take a sample where they actually look at the cells and they can actually determine whether or not it's benign or if it's a tumor, it's a cancerous,
I'm feeling like we spoke to our doctor
He's
at the
cool
hospital.
Too, you talking about but he's a specialist. That's the
right.
thing.
I feel like we talked to him after the CT scan.
What happened was when I went, and that's when the lady, she was telling me, okay, yeah, we're fairly certain that he has cancer, but we do want to run further tests, and what we want to recommend.
Man, that's cat. Let me go back. I got interrupted by real life. Hold on. Let me back up a little bit.
Him after the CT scan.
I think my mic was off. So I think this part is the relevant part. This is what he's trying to get her not to say.
That's
right. I feel like we talked to him after the CT scan.
That's the part that he's trying to get her not to say. And you see that cut? You see that fade between the two images? That's his cut, not mine. Right? And she keeps on saying that they talked after the CT scan, which means they talked after the Speakeasy Blue scene where he's crying. They talked after that first video that we saw. Because prior to that, they had done sonogram and some x-rays, right? And then they called them back in. Then they went to do the CT scan the next day. And after the CT scan, it was the specialist that ordered the CT scan. So after the CT scan was done, he came in and talked to them and told them, assured them that this was not cancer. But that story, it makes Lenon Honor's story a lie. And that's why he's so antsy and so cutting her off at every point. Because it proves it right there. And this is where I decided that she was not in on the scam. And that he scammed her also. Because he controlled access to the whole process. He was the one that was there, not the mother. He was there by himself with them, and he's formulating his plan. And so you look at her at the other end of this fade. So this is her before. She's present. She's talking about what she recollects, honestly.
Again.
What happened was...
Now, after the cut, he told her what it is, and now she's resigned.
When I went, and that's when the lady, she was telling me, okay, yeah, we're...
And that's him lying, trying to look honest, overdoing it.
certain that he has cancer, but we do want to run further tests, and what we want to recommend is we want to schedule a biopsy. Okay.
Right,
So
because they need to be able to get a sample.
and that was, I think that was like within the next 2 days or something like that.
It was all back to back,
Yeah.
back to back.
Yeah, and each time everything was kind of the
Back to back to back. It all happened in 3 days.
stakes were raised each time.
Yeah.
So before we did the biopsy, we got in contact with the specialist.
This is his rendition. But the specialist, she said, came in after the CT because he's the one who ordered the CT.
He was the one that was going to do the biopsy, and I spoke.
And you can look at her face and see that she is going along with him. Yeah, that's what happened. Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
When it was going to do the biopsy, and I spoke with him and very briefly, and he just told me, yeah, we want you guys to come in early on the day for the biopsy
To speak with
That was a
me.
whole day.
She's not a good liar at all.
So we had a friend out here watch our other children, and she took them, and they went to the park, and they went and saw like animals and nature.
Stuff.
They had a great time. And while she was with them, we went with James because I felt, and I asked you, I said, do you feel like you need me to come with you to support? Because I was past that.
Yeah. Stop talking. Yeah.
I was past that emotional stage. So when we went in together for the biopsy, we spoke with the doctor who was a specialist in this field.
Yeah.
He looked at the CT scans.
Exactly. Because it was right after the CT scan.
And the ultrasound and the x-rays, and he told us.
Now see, that's the key point. She didn't say, and the biopsy. Because this didn't happen after the biopsy, because they never even went to the post-biopsy meeting until yesterday. This happened directly after the CT scan. He looked at all the tests that were done before the CT scan, which was the X-ray and the sonic and the ultrasound, and did plus the CT, and he gave them this diagnosis.
He said, I don't think, based on what I see, this is not cancer.
And that was on the second day. And all of that moping and pretending to be sad when he was in red and all those other things, that was all cap. All of it. Him just running up the money. And that's the reason why he avoided the post-biopsy meeting, because they already knew it wasn't cancer. No parent who cares about their kid would have avoided that meeting unless they already knew that it wasn't cancer. And so he kept on stretching it out, letting the money accrue. When the money got to a level that was acceptable to him, right? That's when he ended the whole thing. And they have this thing, and they're both on camera, and he looks 10 years younger.
And he said, I am only one of 2 people who work at this entire hospital, a children's hospital, which is huge.
And his name is Dr. Jones.
Specific for children, and particularly cancer patients.
Right, and if he was contacted, for example, and asked, is this true? What do you think he would say? I'll tell you what he said.
He said, I'm only one of 2 individuals who even work with this type of cancer, or with cancer in general. And this is not cancer from what I'm seeing.
And the way
Right, and that's the point, that this happened on that second day. I think that combined with all the other circumstantial evidence, the evidence that he quit his job, the evidence that the job tried to accommodate him, they tried to bend over backward to accommodate him, but he still quit. The evidence that he never mentioned his own medical situation, which was similar, that all, to me, paints a picture of somebody who is being deceptive. And that's what makes it a scam.
said it, I was like, you know what? This dude right here.
He knows.
He knows.
And the thing about him is he.
Respect, Mikey. I did see you doing your food thing. I saw you working back there. And that's a good thing, bro.
So used to being just the only one in his field that he was confident from the very beginning.
Yeah, he really was.
And he made us feel confident too.
And that's another key point, because remember earlier she said when it came time to go, she was over the emotional part of it, right? Now, if they hadn't got the results yet, how could she be over the emotional part of it, right? She was over it because on the second day, he already told them that it wasn't cancer. And this is why he doesn't do content with her.
You know,
Even
that he
before the
knew what he
biopsy.
was talking about.
Even before
you
the
know?
biopsy. Mhm.
And you could tell there was a genuine, good, his character or something. It just
no, I know what
felt
you're saying.
good.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
he says, I'm fairly certain that this isn't cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Cancer doesn't look this way. I mean, the way he broke it down.
It doesn't look this way. It doesn't grow this way.
That's right. He broke it down like from top and the way. When he was talking, it was like, you know what, this guy knows what he's talking
It was
about.
eye-opening.
Yeah.
We were like so refreshed. It was
Yeah.
like jumping
But
into
still,
a pond.
Yeah, but still, here's the thing. We had gotten so much back and forth and different people
we
saying
weren't
different
sure.
things. I wasn't willing to just trust him. And I had said that in the beginning. I said, look, until we, because someone on YouTube had posted, look, there hadn't been a biopsy. You guys can't say, so don't accept it.
Now you see he slipped right there, right? Anybody hear that? Anybody hear the slip? Listen to it again. This whole time he's been trying to say that the doctor said this after the biopsy, right? After that, those weeks have passed. That's what he's trying to say. But he just slipped and said the truth.
There hadn't been a biopsy.
Let me get back. I mean, I need my other player. That's a 1220. Is there a way to go back faster than this? It's going back like a half a second at a time. Listen to that.
Beginning, I said, look, until we, because someone on YouTube had posted, look, there hadn't been a biopsy. You guys can't say, so don't accept what anybody says. And I believe that. So at that point, I was like, I'm not going to accept what he says. I want to get the results so that we can know.
Right.
For sure.
And that's his plea for why he kept waiting. But another key point is that the post-biopsy meeting was scheduled for June 8th. This is July 17th that they're talking. He skipped the biopsy meeting, the post-biopsy meeting, to let the money build up. And for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, even after, and before he was saying well, he had some conflicts at work or something like that. But after he quit his job, he still skipped the meetings. So he had no job to go to, but he was still not attending this meeting. I really think that the reason why they finally attended was because they were forced to. They might have been threatened with CPS or something for not taking action on that.
Right. Mm-hmm. So we did get the results.
Yeah. So.
And why does it seem like she's asking the question? Because she's looking to him to approve whatever she says. He is so worried about what she will say.
Mm-hmm. So we did get the results.
Yeah, so
but it was so long before we got there.
Yeah, so the guy was like, we had asked how long it's going to take. He gave us a time, but it took a lot longer. So even while we were waiting, that was very difficult because we were wondering, okay, did anything happen? So it was real stressful, very difficult. But after we talked with him,
it was like 2 weeks.
Right. And what she's talking about is, and which the reason why the post biopsy meeting was scheduled for June 8th was because they had the results. They weren't scheduling the post biopsy meeting without the results. Of course, they had the results. And so she keeps on outlining the real timeline, and it's making him nervous.
The 2 weeks?
Yeah. Well, for the results from the biopsy,
yeah,
it was about a week and a half. But I'm talking about the actual biopsy itself.
Okay, so the biopsy itself.
So they took us after a certain point. They had us in a particular room, and we came out of that room to talk with him. Then they put us back. I think they put us back in that room, and then no.
We had to wipe James down.
Yeah,
change
that
his
was
clothes.
before we went to meet with him. I think. No, that was later.
No, it was later.
Because we were there the whole day.
We were there from like early in the morning. Very early.
It was like 9 until we probably left around 6 p.m.
And we hadn't been sleeping, so we were pretty delirious anyway.
It was crazy. But so anyway, so after we talked with him, that's when they told us, okay, we're going to do the biopsy in a certain amount of minutes.
Get James ready. And you know, he couldn't eat
So they walked us, at a certain point, they walked us through these halls, and then at a certain point, you can't go past, as parents, we couldn't go past.
The anesthesiologist took his hand and walked him through this room, and we could not go in there with him.
Yeah, that was tough.
That was scary.
And then, then they escorted us to the waiting room.
And we stayed in there for what? It wasn't that long, actually.
Well, I mean, it was a lot longer than what they told us, and because the whole waiting game, I think that's the part that really makes it difficult. Waiting to find out, waiting.
And I think that's enough. This is like another 14 minutes of them trying to reiterate how fearful they were. I was so scared. I was so afraid. I was so scared. It's like, we got it. And I think it's clear. So I think that this horse is dead. But again, I'm just looking to put all of this content together in a single video to close out the Joe Trey season 1 before I launch into season 2. And there's a bunch of comment-based questions that I promised to answer that I haven't answered. So I need to get those questions out, those promises out, and answer those in video form. I'm gonna do it all in one single, like 2-hour video. Just to document it, put it out, and then archive all of it over onto a channel on Rumble and onto DTube. And then from there, move on to the next part of it. If you don't know what DTube is, go check out DTube. And I think that's about it. I'm going to go out with, I'll go out with my skit. It's from 2021.
I mean, he has a spot to stay at now at the trap, but he can't be there all the time, because if he was there all the time and live streaming all the time, if he's live streaming there by himself, then people are going to know that are looking for him. They're going to know where he's at. Again, a lot of people don't want to admit this thing about Umar being a junkie, but he's a
Peace and Pan-Africanism, peace and Pan-Africanism. Peace and Pan-Africanism, peace and Pan-Africanism. I just wanted to let you all know that tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., there will be a special back-to-school Black Parent teleconference.
Peace out, everybody. Go see your kids, Mikey.